Good morning. Good afternoon. Welcome to Deconstructing Christianity. I'm your host, Coach Renz. And today we're going to have a great day. Now, you guys know this is the new schedule, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Had a new opportunity come my way, so I had to take advantage of it. So Mondays and Fridays, right now, those days are just simply not going to work. So we are doing lives Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 12 noon. Eastern Standard Time. So I look forward to our conversation today. Just a little couple of upkeep things if you haven't signed up for the cruise yet. October 31st, 2026, leaving out of New Orleans on the Valor, out of Carnival Cruise Line Valor. We will be rolling, going to Chichen Itza. Also, if you there's an Eventbrite that I posted. There's an event that I posted, which is a 9 businesses you need to start in 2026 if you want to obtain some financial success, create opportunities for yourself, create opportunities for other people. It is not a network marketing. I do not do those, so do not think it is that. But these are legitimate businesses that I've been watching, industries I've been watching, or ways to do business for the last couple of years, seeing where the industries are moving. I'm always watching. And if you some people are in businesses right now, industries where you're about to get bit, you about to feel the pain. Things are changing. We're in another one of those moments. Like, remember that moment the internet first came out? How many of y'all wish that y'all had done something different when the internet first came out back in the mid 90s? Yeah. We about to hit one of those kind of moments. We are hitting. It ain't no about to. We are hitting those kinds of moments. And there's some opportunities out there for people to take advantage of. All right. So, I forgot to turn this machine down. Hold on. I don't even know if y'all was able to hear that machine. Yeah. So we're here. What was I thinking? Where's my mind? It was something I was just thinking. What else we got? We got the cruise for next year on October 31st, leaving out of New Orleans, 5-day cruise, USS Carnival Cruise Line Valor. There's the webinar that I'm doing for 9 businesses starting 2026. There was something else. There's the change in the schedule, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Damn it, there was one more thing. I don't know. I guess it'll come to me later. I remember later. I don't know. I remember later. So anyway, first of all, let me thank everybody who are members of on YouTube. I hope you like that video that I did for the members over the weekend. So members, subscription holders members on YouTube, subscription holders on Facebook, super fans on TikTok. I haven't figured out TikTok part yet, but super fans on TikTok, you will start to get videos that are only for you guys periodically through the week. At least on, once or twice a week, you'll get a video just for you guys. At least once or twice a week. Did a video for them about, I did a good video. They got a great video this past weekend. So if any of the members or subscription holders or super fans on here, I know that you've seen the videos. I've seen some of the comments. It was a great video. So that is what I do for those people, and I thank them very kindly. And that is my thank you for them, for people who support the channel that way. So I appreciate it greatly. Everybody else who subscribe to the channels or follow the channels, thank you very much for following the channel. That helps to build the algorithm, because that's what it's about, building our community, finding one another. That's why we had such a great time here in San Antonio, because we found and met one another. So I appreciate you guys for that. And, thank you everybody who shares the videos and everything, shares and likes and comments on a constant basis. I appreciate it. So, boss lady, make sure, check your notifications. See if you're on YouTube. So make sure the bell icon is on. And that's the only thing I know to do. That's the only thing I know to do is make sure your bell icon is on. But I think that, I don't know. I have no idea why sometimes them things be working, sometimes they don't. So let's get it together. Let's get it together today. Let's get this conversation rolling. Let's get it rolling. So as you see, what's in the prompt and the title of this show today is that the devil, sin, and hell do not exist. Now, I don't know if you guys saw the video that I did yesterday where I say I'd use the same image that you see up there. And in that video, I said that I am sinless and I would die sin. I was born sinless. I would die sinless. And that got me to thinking even more so about having a longer conversation with you guys, because let's think about it for a second. Where does the idea of sin come from? What is sin? And then where does the idea of the devil come from? And where does the idea of hell, where does all of that come from? Right? Where does the concept? And we know that the end result is control over people. We know the end result is to scare people into obedience. It is not a end result of love and care and things of that nature. No, it is merely fear. But how did it develop? Because if you're reading through the Bible, you're going to find, if you are actually researching it, studying it, you're going to find that the Bible doesn't seem to speak with one voice in concern with sin, the devil, or hell. Now we're going to tackle sin real quick. Sin is quite easily. Sin is merely if you do something that violates the instructions of the God that you believe in. That's all sin is. Right? That's it. What is a woman not covering her head? That is sinful if you practice Islam. But if you practice Christianity, it's not sinful. Why? Because one God says that women are supposed to cover their heads. The other God says they're not. One God said that they're supposed to cover their face. The other God says that they're not. You're supposed to bring food to one God and place it on their statues and whatnot. The other God says that to do that is idolatry. It's sinful. So it's not. Sin is merely doing something that one particular God does not like. Sin is not murder. It's not stealing. It's not adultery. It's not those things. Those are immoralities. And there's a difference between immorality and sin. Sometimes, yes, an immorality can be a sin, but an immorality doesn't necessarily have to be a sin. Right? I know this is people ain't gonna like this version of it. It is immoral from the American standard for a young woman, a girl under the age of say a 12-year-old young girl to get married. It is immoral for a grown-ass man to marry a 12-year-old. But we know in other countries, that's not considered an immorality. And we know that according to the Bible, as long as she has started her cycle, her menstrual cycle, it's not a sin. It's not. So what we have decided is immoral is not a sin. So immorality doesn't necessarily have to be a sin. Now, does it? You see how that works? Something that we may find immoral doesn't necessarily equates to being a sin because the Bible doesn't speak against it. It doesn't violate any of this God's rules. It's just something that we have decided is moral or immoral. And that depends upon what society you're living in, because morals are subjective, just like gods are subjective. You believe in your God and you believe that it is real. That is your subjective belief. Someone else believes in the God of the Egyptians. That is their subjective belief. Each one is going to claim that they're right. Each one is going to claim that the other is wrong. Subjective belief, because neither can prove one way or the other. So the fact of the matter is, sin is a subjective thing that only applies to the belief in a God. If there is no belief in a God, then there is no sin. There is simply what the society decides is moral or immoral. And then what your community decides is moral or immoral. Then what your family decides what's moral and immoral. And then what you individually decide what is moral and what is immoral. So there is no such thing as sin. Sin does not exist objectively. It only exists subjectively. So then there's your devil part. And we got to have all of this together. The short version of the story goes like this. When you start to read the Bible and you're going through it, there is no such thing as the devil. No. The serpent is created on in the Garden of Eden. The serpent tempts, tells Eve that, hey, surely this God is lying to you. And so then after that, there's no more serpent in the story. He crawls on his, but he gets punished by God. The same God that made him punishes him. And so there is no God. I mean, there is no devil after that. You don't hear from him. There is no devil that is tempting Cain to kill Abel. God actually says that sin crouches at your door, but yet you have the power to overcome it. There is no devil that's causing the sons of God to go to the daughters of men. There is no the Nephilim are considered to be the great men, the great heroes of old, great men of renown. So they're not described in a negative way in Genesis. There's no devil that goes and destroys Sodom and Gomorrah. Who destroys Sodom and Gomorrah? It is the angels that are sent by this God. Right? God tells who floods the world. It is the God of the Bible, not the devil. Who kills all does all the destruction in Egypt? The God of the Bible, not a devil. When you're reading through the Bible, you will see that time and time again through Genesis and Exodus and all the Pentateuch, those first 5 books of the Bible, it is always the God doing all the good shit, but doing all the destructive stuff too. There is no devil. Even when you get to the story of Job, the Satan is a being that is a title. There is a heavenly council that's going on. And hey, we're having a meet and greet. And it is the God of the Bible who then brings about this council. And he's the one who brings up Job. The Satan is, if you remember the movie World War Z, when they got to Israel and he asked them, why did you build the wall? He said, well, we came to this realization that if in a room of 10 men, if 9 of us agree, then it is the duty of the one to disagree. So this is the job of the Satan up there. That's what that means. His duty is to disagree with whatever is being said. He's the 13th man or the 9th man, 10th man, whatever you want to call it. I like using the term the 13th man. He's the 13th man, right? And with him being the 13th man, he's just saying, well, the only reason, giving justification. He's not suggesting that anything happened to Job. He's just saying that, hey, the reason why Job does that is because he's giving the why. Now that character, and that's it. After that, you don't hear anything else about this character. The Satan, he's in heaven, which if you believe that the devil was cast down to earth as his punishment, then how is he in heaven? If you believe that God cannot be where there is evil, then how is he in heaven? If you believe that Satan is evil, the Satan is the devil, he cannot be there. So that will make no sense. So as you read through this story, you see that the Satan disappears. They are one-off characters. They have a one-time moment. And then when you read 1 Samuel, David is first incited to do a census because God tells him to do so. But when you read 2 Samuel, all of a sudden, David is told to do a census. He's tempted to do a census, and it is the Satan that tells him to do it, that tempts him into doing it. So this is why there's a conflict between the first Samuel and the retelling of the story. And you got to realize that Second Samuel is pretty much a retelling of First Samuel. There's a retelling of the story. So all of a sudden, now there's a devil. Well, what happened that allowed for a devil, for the Satan, for the serpent to be transformed into this devil? Well, during the Babylonian captivity, during the Babylonian captivity, which extends to the Persian conquest of Babylon, the Israelites run into a new thing. It is called dualism. Once they met up with and start learning from the Zoroastrians, they started to understand dualism. And that dualism helped them to explain why their society has been devastated, conquered for century after century after century. You got to think about these people who claim to have this great nationality. Their God was for them through all these trials and tribulation, and then established a kingdom under the Davidic and Solomonic kingdoms. They established this kingdom, but since the 700s BCE, 600s BCE, now we're in the late 500 BCE, getting ready to go into the 400s BCE. These people have been conquered for almost 3 centuries. And they were asking why. Their God, like many other gods of the day, they did good and they did the bad. They were 100% responsible. All the Mesopotamian gods, they had multiple gods, and they did good things, they did bad things. And so Yahweh was the same. He did the good stuff, he did the bad stuff. But then what happened? They found the Zoroastrians, and they had Ahura Mazda, who was always fighting for the good, fighting the good fight for truth, justice, not the American way. And then he was fighting against Agamemnon. Agamemnon was the polar opposite of Ahura Mazda. So you had dualism. They started to understand pure dualism. Now, I know some people are going to say that, oh, they had duality in Egypt. They had duality. Nah, not this type of duality. Not this purely one side, purely the other side. This is what the Zoroastrians brought. So they took that. It explained their situation. It was not their God who had been doing these evil things. It was the devil, the Satan. So the character of the Satan got an upgrade. He got an upgrade, right? He got the 2.0. And so when he got the 2.0, now he starts to become the devil here. So when 2 Samuel is being written, it's like, nah, it wasn't God. Because God is going to punish David for doing the census. It wasn't God. It was the devil. Yeah, it was the devil. And then soon after that time frame, you get the writings of the books of Enoch. Oh, there was a war in heaven. See, before that, there was no such thing as a war in heaven. Before that, they were thinking that it was the children of Seth that started having sex with the daughters of Cain. But now, no. What we got here is we got the devil. We got fallen angels. We got a war in heaven. So the books of Enoch are going to be written real soon. And so when that comes in, yeah, now we're really adding to this character of the devil. Oh, by the way, that serpent in the garden. Yeah, that was the devil. That was the fallen angels who took over his body. Yeah, and so it was cool. They started they started having a devil. But it wasn't until that Christianity came around that it got that Ozempic shot. That's when the Ozempic shot kicked in, when Christianity came around. Because see, by the time we get to Christianity, not only do you have a devil, but you got hell. See, before they started meeting the Zoroastrians, before they started meeting them, there was no hell. You just went to Sheol's, like this dark, dreary place where you just kind of somewhat cease to exist, but somewhat kind of exist, but you're kind of in this sleepy kind of existence. They was cool with that. But after the Zoroastrians, then they met the Greeks. And the Greeks, they had Hades. Hades had Tartarus. for the people who did bad things, and then they had Elysium for the people who did great things. So, and then you had a few other little spots up in there, and so they started understanding. Oh, and then the Greeks had a god who sit on Olympus with the good, pretty much good god, almost equivalent, kind of like a Yahweh-ish god. And then they had his brother Hades, and Hades was manning the underworld, and down there. So it was like, oh, that's kind of like the dualism that we understood. So just if there's dualism as far as the cosmic beings fighting each other, then there's dualism in the afterlife. Not just one place, it's dualism. Oh, so they create Abraham's bosom, and they have Tartarus. And you can see that element when the Jesus character is talking. He gives the parable about the rich man in Tartarus while the Lazarus is in Abraham's bosom. This is what the Jesus character was teaching. This was his thought process. Because by the time we get to first century, that's what we have. We don't have the heaven and hell that John of Patmos tells you about. We have Abraham's bosom, and we have Tartarus. The Jesus versions of hell don't exist yet. But it was Christianity that gave it that Ozempic shot. That Ozempic shot hit, and all of a sudden, we got heaven, we got hell. We got, gnashing of teeth, a place of great sorrow. We got a fiery pit of thirst that can't be quenched. We got everybody being thrown into the lake of fire. Not just people. And I'm gonna do a video about this pastor who talks about this after, later on today. People going to heaven and saying, or going to hell, saying that they saw demons torturing people. That is nowhere within your Bible. Demons don't torture. Devils don't torture. If people actually went by the Bible, and they would know that the demons and the devil are like, you ever, you go to a prison, and the most famous prisoners, they will be the most famous prisoners there. They are not in charge. They're not running the prison. So when these people say, oh, I went to hell and I saw all this stuff. No, you saw Dante's Inferno. You saw Paradise Lost. You saw all the movies and stuff. Yeah, I'm on YouTube. I'm on YouTube as well. It's at Coach Renz 33. You can join after I finish my whole spiel. So this is where you get this idea. They have these visions of heaven and hell. It's all made up shit in their mind that they've seen in Hollywood and whatnot. So anyway, that's when it gets this big push. Christianity comes around, and all of a sudden there's the devil, there's God, and there's heaven, and there's hell, and they're polar opposite. They learn that duality from the Zoroastrians, and now they have their ideas. But the reality is, you can see the track. If the devil existed in the beginning, then that would have been known in the beginning. But no, you have to have a progression. And anytime Christians say that, oh yeah, well, God had to take man through what man could learn at that time. Are you meaning telling me that there is something in 1,000 years in the future that we can't learn right now? That makes no sense, because man could have learned that back then too. This guy could have made it very clear that there was a devil, but he didn't. People have bootstrapped different ideas through the centuries of the writings and the centuries of political interference and political domination. They've created these ideas. So when we step back and we look at it, what do we realize? We realize that the devil is a created being, a literary created being that goes through stages of development. Right? It's kind of like New Edition. I'm gonna date myself. Kind of like New Edition. No, actually, better yet, and I know some of y'all gonna have something to say about this. I watched the movie The Temptations for the first time this past weekend. Never seen it before. Yes, I know. But one of the things that I found very intriguing is that The Temptations had 31 different members. So at any given moment, you don't know who's in The Temptations, but it's only two consistent people. Otis Williams and Blue. Only two consistent people in The Temptations. 31, oh, sorry, 31 members. That is the devil. A name that has had things taken away from it and things added to it constantly and still is being done, even when people know. Even when people don't. So there is no devil. The only devil is the one inside your own brain. That's it. You are the you the devil. And there is no sin. So if there's no devil, there's no one tempting you to sin. So if you do sin, you go against the laws of the God that you believe in, then that is your own self. That is you doing it. But there is only a sin when you believe in a particular God, because you're transgressing against the laws of that God. The laws of that God. Because everyone who is a Christian is transgressing against the laws of Allah. Everyone who is a Christian is transgressing against the laws of Brahma. Everyone who is a Christian is transgressing against the laws of Olorun. And vice versa around the board for everyone who believes in every other God. So there is no sin. There is only immoralities, and all of those are subjective as well. There's some important ones that we agree on, mostly, but for the most part, they're not. They're subjective. And so therefore, there is no hell. If there is no God, there's no devil, there's no sin, there's no God, there's no hell. Hell does not exist. Hell is when you allow someone to put you in a mental state of hell, or you put yourself in a mental state of hell. But there is no hell. And no one has been there and came back. There is absolutely no proof. All these people who say that they went to hell and I saw the musician, they were giving music, and they were the same songs that you see. I don't even know these people today. Megan Thee Stallion singing, or Beyonce singing. And that showed me that this music comes from hell. No. Katy Perry's music comes from hell. No, it doesn't work that way. Everything that a person sees is something that they have been conditioned to see. You've been conditioned to see whatever it is that is happening by some form of fashion. It is your imagination. It is your imagination. Right? That's it. That's it. And if you still believe in this is one of the things that keeps people stuck in this religion, is their belief in the devil, sin, and hell. And in order to be a Christian, you have to believe in the devil, sin, and hell just as much as you believe in your God, salvation, and heaven. Your belief has to be just as strong, because that's the duality that they got from the Zoroastrian. So I'm going to get ready to light my cigar, and we're going to, as I like to say, open the doors of the church. So let me put the invite out here on. I already got somebody waiting on TikTok. I'm gonna bring him up in just a second, if he's still there. And is that the right? Is that the? I think that was. Oh yeah, it was the invite guest thing. Okay. Nope. He's not there anymore. No, that's fine. Still gonna light my cigar. Twerking, working and twerking and listening to. All right. But there is plenty of Zoroastrian influence. You got once they were, and they would have been favorable to the Persians, because the Persians didn't come in and do like the Babylonians. They allowed them to go back to Jerusalem. They allowed them to become a vassal kingdom under the Persian Empire. So they looked favorably upon them. And it made sense to them too. The duality of it all, it allowed for them to justify the centuries of being dominated by foreign powers. So having Agramenia made sense to them. I don't know if my wife is watching, but yeah, coffee little is weaker. Yeah, this one is it's a little weaker, watered. I guess that brand needs to steep for more than 6 minutes in the French press. For those of y'all who don't know, me and my wife are coffee bougie. But I know you guys are making a lot of statements. Let me scroll through a little here, see what I can see if there was anything I missed. I try not to look when I'm going through this because I don't want to get thrown off. But we can tell that all of these stories, you know, when you look at who was in charge of them, who dominated them, you see where their influences were. I mean, and you can, and that is a common thing for man, period. That is just such a common thing. No matter what group, no matter where, that's what man does. Every group that has been colonized took on a lot of the personality of their colonizers. That's why I find it interesting when you see places where they are like in Samoa. Is it Samoa or New Zealand? It's one of them islands down there. Samoa, New Zealand. I think it's New Zealand. They are trying to recapture their history, their being. Oh, perfect example. No, perfect example. Because I just saw this on a doc. You know, me and my wife be nerding out sometimes on a documentary that we watched this weekend. Watching this documentary about Hawaii. When the Christian missionaries came to Hawaii, and when they forced the Queen of Hawaii to abdicate her throne. So let me put it in context first. First thing they did was, I think this was like the late 1800s, the American government forced the Queen of Hawaii to abdicate her throne, right? They forced her off her throne. And then the Christian missionaries came in. Because the Christian missionaries didn't understand the hula dance and what it meant, and they had difficulties with the language, the Hawaiian language. For 50 years, they outlawed the hula dance. They outlawed the language, right? For all them sweet little Christians out there who think that Christians are just so loving. But they outlawed those things. To the point where 50 years later, and you got to think 50 years is a long time. Most native Hawaiians do not speak Hawaiian. They speak English. They do not speak Hawaiian. And most of them don't know or don't know how to do or the cultural importance of the hula dance, right? And what's interesting about it is that many of the ancient craftsmanships of the Hawaiian people, many of their stories lost. Yeah, the documentary that I was watching, it highlighted a few of the ancient crafts and some of the stories, but most of it lost. They have become Americans. Except for this one dude was cracking me up. He was like, yeah, he kept calling them, everybody else, the Americans. Yeah, the Americans come over here. Like, okay, dude, you're Native Hawaiian. Technically, you're American too. But I understood what he was saying. So every time these, someone who is militarily more powerful than you comes in, you adopt their culture, and they can force you to leave a lot of your culture. You mean to tell me Christians really believe, Jews really believe, Muslims really believe that the first stories of the Bible, the Old Testament, has not been influenced when they have been conquered from 700 BCE all the way up to, say, Jesus, 700 to Jesus. That's 700 years of being under the Babylonians, well, being under the Assyrians, then being under the Babylonians, then being under the Persians, and then the Greeks, and then the Romans. And you think that this story has survived intact? This is why there are so many contradictions within the story. Because as the political winds change, as the dominant group over these people change, the influences change. And it wasn't like somebody came in and like, oh, the Babylonians in charge, and they're only in charge for about 6 months. No. 48, 50 years. Persians come in. I don't know how long the Persians ruled in, what, about 100 something plus years. Assyrians rolling them jokers for 100 plus years. You're being ruled for hundreds of years by other people. They influence the hell out of your doctrine. You don't get ruled by people for, we see the impact of Hawaii for just in the first 50 years. They shook them up, took away their culture, took away most of their culture in the first 50 years. That's why the devil gets a makeover every time. Gets a makeover every time. The Satan initially looks like the Mesopotamian idea of the Satan, where then the Mesopotamian idea of the Satan was just a member of the heavenly court, a member of Anu's court. The Satan was Enlil, who's just part of the court. You had Enlil, Enki, and Harsag. You had everybody up there in the Nurta. It's just a heavenly court. And that's what you have in the Job story. Satan is just playing the role of Enlil. And there are many scholars who think that the word Satan in the Sumerian, because Sumerian is not a Semitic language, probably meant administrator. Person who runs the COO of the situation. My pleasure, Strawberry CC. But that's what the Satan was. That's what most scholars are thinking the Satan was to the Sumerians. So Enlil would fit that description, as he was the administrator over the earth. So when he was asking the Satan specifically, where you been, what's going on, he's asking the COO of earth, what's going on. Did you notice Job? He's a good and faithful servant, righteous man. Did you notice him? Yeah, I noticed Job. Yeah, he righteous. Job never do anything wrong. And that's because you only show him all this love and consideration. You protect him. That's the only reason. You give him all this shit. You want to bet? And though he gets this makeover, and all of a sudden, then you go to the Zoroastrian, and then there's another makeover. It's like Bishop Nubb said, the devil, even if you took the Christian idea of the devil, he's an employee of God. He does and follows the plan of God, which makes no sense. If you were with you in your right thinking mind, and this is supposed to be a celestial being, I want you to think about this. Think about this. Let's say you went to work for a company, and upon being hired by that company, they tell you, let me see, who is somebody I can pick on? Look here, Kevin. Now I'm Kevin and Brian, and it's on and Q. Look here, I'm hiring all three of y'all. And what y'all gonna do is y'all gonna work on this assembly line. You're gonna work on this assembly line You know, you're 20 years old now. You're gonna work on this assembly line until you're 70. And while you're working on the assembly line, I want you to try to, keep everything going. I might ask you to do a thing here and there. But at the end of your 70 years, when you turn 70, so at the end of your 50 years of working on this assembly line, I'm gonna let y'all run the company for about 3 days. And then after y'all finish running the company for about 3 days, a very short time frame, then the metal smelter, I'm gonna throw y'all in there with about half the employees, the other employees. I'm gonna throw y'all in there in the metal, in the smelting furnace fire. All right. You gonna go for that? You gonna follow the plan? Are you Kevin, Brian, and Q? Are you following the plan? When they now laid it out for you that we're gonna work your ass to the bone, we're gonna give you three days where you run the company, but then you're gonna be thrown into this fire. And every time you go to a lawyer to fight against me, you're gonna lose. And every time you try to do a walkout, it's not gonna work. They already now showed your whole plan is there. You're gonna follow this plan. Now, y'all human. You got you know how they like to say the human mind can't understand the mind of God. Okay, well, Kevin, Brian, and Q are humans, and these humans are basically saying, fuck this job. Fuck this job. So they saying, hell no to this job. So why would a celestial being follow the plan? You know what I'm saying? Why would a celestial being follow the plan that says that it knows that in the end it's going to end up in this lake of fire? Now, and here's the thing. Every movie that you watch, now that's a script. And those actors followed the script. Every now and then they ad lib and it makes it better. But at the end of the day, they follow the script. At the end of the day, Iron Man got to do the snap. Now, whether he says I am Iron Man or not, because Marvel, big Marvel guy, that he didn't want to say it. But whether he says that or not, but he got to follow the script. He's not stepping out. He at the end of the day, he got to die. It's in the script. It's in the script. But that's a movie. In this reality of life, you mean to tell me that a devil gonna follow the script? Man, please. Kevin said that shit hurt. I know, man. How are you? How's everything? How you doing? Are you over 21? I'm
53 years old. It's gonna be okay.
All right.
They call me the blue-eyed boogeyman. You're gonna be just fine. You have the pen that keeps me back away from you. So don't worry, I can't attack you. I can't touch you. Smoking some stogies? What you smoking? Cohibas? Or your own personal brand?
My own personal brand.
Okay, what capabilities are you using?
That's not this. I have a channel for cigars. That's not what this channel is about.
Oh, nice. Okay. So you actually have your own channel regarding cigars?
Yes.
Nice. That's the thing.
Yeah. So are you a believer?
Yeah, every Christian that knows Jesus is a living God. I'm on lunch break. I'm just going to this TikTok and I said,
okay.
What's this guy talking about?
So you believe that you believe in the devil, sin, and hell?
Jesus. I'll give you orders if you just burn out and worship me. Mike said, you want me to shut
Okay,
it?
wait.
He said,
We're
"Yeah,
not.
fine."
We all know the story. So
Perfect.
what
If you know the story, none of them go with the Jesus.
what proof of the is there of the devil? What proof is there?
The spooks or spirits that actually exist.
I just wear this because I like it as a piece of jewelry. It means absolutely. It means nothing.
You actually look up the origin of where it stands. It represents some type of secrets or pennant to lead away these spooks.
That's not
Whatever you want to call
it. It doesn't matter just because.
it.
No, sir. No, what we're not going to do is go off into a tangent of this. This has nothing, sir. This has nothing to do with the pendant that I wear. I've already told you it's just a piece of jewelry to me, and that's all that needs to be said about that. What I'm asking you is, what is your proof that a devil exists? Specifics. No, sir. Bruh. Okay. What you're not going to do is you're not going to overtalk me. You're not going to overtalk me, nor try to tell me how my channel is going to run. Now, if you start going into a whole bunch of vague shit, I'm going to stop you and ask for specifics. That's how my channel is ran. If you can't abide by that, that's fine. But that's how it's going to go. So,
you go first, because all this back, I don't do childish maneuvering. How about you go first, like I used to do it in all of it? You go first, but you present your argument.
Okay. You see how you're trying to run my show? You cannot do that now. I am asking you. I am asking, dude.
What's wrong with you?
No disrespect to anybody else from the north, especially that New York area. But why do y'all all? It's like the majority that I encounter have this mentality that is, I don't know. I don't even know. I'm not even gonna get into it. It's very simple. These New Yorkers seem like they are the type of people that I can overtalk you and keep talking. You're not going to come on my show and determine how the show is going to run. You're not going to tell me what you want to do. That's just not how it works. If you want to do that, start your own podcast. That's all you got to do. Right? That's all you got to do. And then I like how they try to define you. That he wasn't a New Yorker. What the hell was he? I mean, you know, those, he's up in that area, New York, Boston, wherever, that whole little area. And then they try to like define you. Why are you panicking? Why are you? I'm not panicking. I just don't tolerate that level of arrogance, that mentality. Yeah. Like I think I would struggle. No, I don't think. I know I would struggle being friends on a consistent basis where I got to communicate with somebody who talks like that, who just, you know, got to keep talking and then try to overtalk you and don't know how to actually have a conversation. You know. So anyway. Then exactly, he over here on TikTok talking about something. So you go live to be non-tolerant. I don't have to tolerate any behavior that I don't care for. And I remember who this guy is. If I had remembered who he was, I would have never allowed him on anyway. He sounded like he was from the Caribbean. I don't think he's from the Caribbean. No. He northern. Boston, New York, somewhere up in there. Jersey, Philly, somewhere up in there. Anyway, this show ain't about him. So I'm done with that aspect of it. Maybe I need to start writing down these people who I'm not going to allow back on the show, so I remember. Anyway, for a person to come on and all they're going to say, and see, this is all that I was getting at. I asked them, "What is your proof of the devil?" Oh, because the Bible is true, because we have archaeological evidence. No, I was just cutting them off to say, no, let's get specifics. We're not going to go into this long tirade about these vague statements of archaeological proof, these vague statement the Bible is true. You have to be able to prove the Bible is true. What makes it true? What specific items can you name that makes the Bible true? What archaeology can you name that makes the Bible true? You see, when you got to go 100 miles to get to nowhere, that's a problem. That's why I always tell people, cut the circle, make a straight line. If I wanted to say, and what's funny is I know he's still here. If he says, well, what proof that you have that the Bible is false? Would I say, well, the Bible is false because of archaeological evidence that we have so much of it? See, that's bullshit. I would go straight to something like, well, the mere fact that there is absolutely zero proof of any slaves in Egypt, the fact that the person who claims to have found proof of slaves in Egypt with the wheels that in the Red Sea has proven and been debunked, the fact that at the time frame that the plagues would have happened, you either are going to have, based on 2 Kings, Amenhotep II is Pharaoh, but based on the Bible stating that they built High Ramsey in Pithom, then Ramses II has to be Pharaoh, and that gives a 200 to 300 year difference in time frame. So the Bible contradicts itself. Straight to the damn point. Cut the straight line. All this, well, the Bible is true because I believe it, and the Bible is true because of what I've experienced and my emotions. I mean, the Bible is true because there's archaeological evidence, but you're not naming the archaeological evidence because your testimony don't mean shit. Your feelings don't mean a thing. Trying to focus on the fact that I wear this as a piece of jewelry that he already knows doesn't mean anything. So I know you're still here. And I'm not going to allow you to rebuttal because you don't know how to just draw a straight line. You got to go 50-11 freaking miles. I don't like 50-11 miles. The people who watch the show don't like people going 50 miles and quoting scriptures and talking about your feelings. If you ain't got something factual, then there's no point in you coming on here. The Bible, this is somebody else, y'all, by the way. Oh, and someone who said something out there. I don't look at all New Yorkers that way, Center Star. I just seem to run into the ones. The Bible is true because the uncaused first cause created everything, seen and unseen. What is your proof of that? Because based on the science that we know of, there is nothing happened without causation. There is no uncaused. Then that would mean that your God created out of nothingness, and you can't create out of nothingness. Nothingness has never existed. So I may not be understanding your statement, Michael, as the way you want me to understand it or the way you mean it. But the uncaused is the first cause that created everything. No. There is no evidence whatsoever of a past eternal universe. Actually, there is. You have to be able to separate the idea of, many people think that when they're talking about, for lack of a better term, the Big Bang Theory, it is speaking of the creation of the universe, but it's not. It's talking about the creation of our known universe that exists in a larger universe, because we have seen the edges of our universe that still exists, and there is still the existence of a universe beyond that. So because we've seen the edges, we know that that our known universe exists within a larger universe, and these singularities. And I really hate that it's called the Big Bang Theory. It should really just be called the singularities. Multi singularity. The Big Bang is speaking of our known universe, not the universe. There's a difference. That's and they still getting it. They still there's a key thing that y'all keep missing. He says Stephen Hawking and the prevailing worldwide view is the universe has a beginning. Our known universe has a beginning, not the universe. Can you understand the difference? There's the universe. It's like a society within a society. We have the American society, but within the American society, we have multiple smaller societies, right? It's just that. That's what the theory, that's what the thought is. That's the prevailing thought. So it's not the same thing. Have you listened to any of Bashar's talk and messages? I don't know who Bashar is. It's like countries and continents, exactly. But yeah, and within a country or within a continent, you got multiple countries. But it is certainly not the beginning of the universe, of all creation. That is where the religious mindset runs afoul to this science, to the science, because it's not the creation of the. Then see, in religion, all creation stories are the creation of everything, the fullness of the universe in its totality, which is a creation out of nothingness. And scientifically, we know you can't create something out of nothing. Can you create out of nothingness? No. Scientifically, we've proven that. And yet they say the atheist worldview is not grounded in reality. You cannot disprove God. You cannot prove God. Ultimately, can you factually disprove God? No. Ultimately, can you factually prove God? No. But based on the amount of evidence that we have, there is more evidence that lean towards the idea that God does not exist than there is that lean towards God exists. And then the person who believes in a specific God has to have even more specific information or proof that their God exists. Right? That's they say that he said that atheists aren't grounded in reality. But over and over and over and over again, what is demonstrated is that the God that they want to point to has less evidence than its non-existence. I don't know. I don't know what to tell them. And then time, matter, and space are co-rational. That which created time, matter, and space can't be co-rational. It's definitely the problem that time, matter, and space has always existed. How we view time, matter, and space changes based on what planet you're on or how you're existing in the universe. Yes, get off the whole science thing because that's a circle. Do you believe in a historical Jesus? Not in the same sense of a historical Jesus that you will hear other people talk about. Do I think that there was one historical Jesus that the legendary story is based on? No, I think there were multiple Jesus characters, multiple other Jesus type characters that the story is based on, both past and at that present moment. It's just too much evidence to demonstrate that. Now, here's the other thing. Even if there was a historical character named Yeshua who was walking and preaching a different type of Judaism, does that mean the biblical version is true? No. It's kind of like there was a Johnny Appleseed, but he never made it all the way to Washington State, and he wasn't walking around barefoot. There was a John Henry, but he never used a pickaxe and dug a tunnel through a mountain in one day. That would be, if there was a one-person historical Jesus, it would still fall into that category. But for the most part, Jesus of the Bible is a literary character that is comprised from multiple Jesuses and Jesuses types. He said if time ever was always existing, how would we ever arrive at today? Because time is measured on Earth based on the Earth's rotation and revolving around the sun. That is Earth time. Mars has its own time. Jupiter has its own time. Our sun has its own time. Our entire solar system has its own time as it moves through the Milky Way. Time does not exist on Earth. How we measure time on Earth is not how every other celestial body or grouping of celestial bodies measure their time. So to think that time only exists because of Earth time, no. It just exists. And no one can ever say when the beginning was, because no one will ever know. No, we will never know. Never. Science will never be able to say or know when the beginning. No. And I'm perfectly fine with that. It's not a point I will continue to argue, because there's no point in arguing. There's some things you just will never know. I believe Jesus was just an intellectual teacher, and I just got to see, wait a minute, I just don't see a God. Yeah. And I think it's fine to say that Jesus was just a man who was teaching, because in first century Judaism, hell, from the moment the Greeks through the Greek time frame, through the Roman time frame, there was always somebody claiming to be the Messiah. There was always somebody claiming to be the Messiah. Do people really think about the things that they're saying? Time, space are coordinates in space as relative to how close you are to center point gravity. Sometimes people try to be so educated that it doesn't make any sense. All right, sir. Center point of gravity? Earth, the sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter. The galactic center. Is it the galactic center? What center point of gravity are you speaking of that time is relative to? Because time is relative on Earth to Earth time. I ain't got to go into close to the center point of gravity. Earth time. See, people. And say theory of relativity. I'm gonna sound so intellectual that I'm not saying anything, because you're leaving things out and you're displaying that you're not thinking through it. I already said Earth time is different than Mars time, than Venus time. So time is not just about Earth time. So yes, it is relative. That's why it's called the theory of relativity, because it's relatable to as far as Earth is concerned, relatable as far as Jupiter is concerned. What's so hard about that? Yeah, I know Alan Watts thought that Jesus was a super enlightened being. I disagree with Alan Watts. I don't think Jesus was some super enlightened being. He was just another dude who was walking around Jerusalem in the first century claiming to be the Messiah. And he probably was flipping over tables and stuff because he was violent just like the rest of them. Because first century Judaism, I know, Boss Lady, I don't know how to make everybody stream on one service as far as StreamYard is concerned. But first century Judaism, they were looking for someone who was going to overthrow the Roman government, to which Jesus never did. They were looking for someone who was going to sit on the throne of David and reinstate the Levitical priesthood. But Jesus never did those things. But the Jesus character would have been somebody who was probably, I don't think he was a pacifist. If there were the real Jesuses that was running around, were not pacifists. Not pacifists at all. These people thought that they was going to overthrow Rome. They had previously seen the Maccabees establish a temporary kingdom during the Greek occupation. They were looking to do the same. Oh my God. I thought we was going to have a beautiful, beautiful day without Fred. But you just can't wish. Y'all know, yeah, okay. I normally ignore the hell out of Fred, but I have to look at this. Okay. Now, Fred self-admits that he got mental problems, right? He self-admitted that. Many of y'all have been here. Plenty of y'all know he self-admits that he got mental problems. Fred is saying that I am unstable. So what Fred is trying to do, because I'm doing a seminar, a webinar on 9 businesses you should start in 2026. And when I go through these businesses, I will break down certain elements. It won't be like how you can watch a YouTube video and they just tell you about it. Oh, you should do this. No, I'm going to break down. This is why the seminar is 3 hours. I'm going to break down how to get started, what avenues of approach, so on and so forth, right? So Fred wants to stop these things from happening. He's already prayed that people don't do it, but yet people have already signed up. And all his prayers keep failing, as many Christian prayers consistently and continuously fail. Because you remember, Fred was supposed to show up for our meetup here we had in San Antonio, and so on and so forth. And so they always fail. So now Fred is trying to dissuade people, which if anybody would follow Fred's lead, I'm going to question your sanity. But he's trying to dissuade people by saying that by trying to discredit me. Now, as far as my ability to recognize business, grow business, so on and so forth. Now I want y'all to think about something. His big claim is this. He's been saying this, blabbing this all over my Facebook for the last 3-4 days, right? That I'm so unstable because I had 4 houses in 2 years and lie about Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, right? So Fred thinks now, and most of you guys were with me through this journey. So I'm unstable. The guy who had a gourmet popcorn shop for over 10 years and the guy who had a cigar lounge for 5 years and wasn't working for somebody, who built both of those shops up to the point where we were able to semi-retire, right? Now, y'all were with me through the journey. So you saw me when I shut down the cigar lounge, I shut down the popcorn shop, went into semi-retirement. Y'all were with me, right? Fred was with me during that time frame. Fred was following the channel then. Fred is a top fan, been here for a long time. So y'all were with me when we left Stone Mountain, we left Atlanta to go and help Angelina's, not that they needed a whole bunch of help, but just do the extra to make their retirement more comfortable when we went there, knowing that it was a temporary thing. We were just going there to make sure that they were comfortable, right? Y'all were with me when me and Andrew took a cross-country motorcycle ride. And then we decided that we're going to move to San Antonio. Y'all were with me when we came here really sight unseen. My man Isaac on here, I always gave him thanks because Isaac went and looked at a house for us. We turned out they didn't work out. They had some changes to the house we didn't like, but we moved here sight unseen. And y'all were with me for that. But I'm unstable. And what's funny to me, and I do not feel compelled to explain myself to Fred. Hell no. The reason why I brought this up, because I realized that this is the typical mentality of a Christian, of a believer. They will take something that they know the information. Fred knows all of that. He knew that we moved into this house so we can get a feel for San Antonio and then decide where in San Antonio we want to live. He knew that. He knew that we went to North Carolina to get Angelina's parents in a more comfortable situation. He knew that. He knew that we left North Carolina because I always said I was leaving Atlanta. After my kids were grown, I always said, I'm leaving Atlanta. I'm not going to live here. He knew all these things. But now he wants to say, oh, you're unstable because you move. And he knows the real reason why. This is how deceitful Christians are. Christians, they demonstrate this deceitful behavior over and over again. Right? And this is why y'all don't get people. This is why people don't want to be with y'all, because y'all are some of the most deceitful people around. Oh my gosh. Can y'all ever have an honest bone? Y'all will lie to validate your belief system. What up, Bishop Nub? Got to make you put you bigger.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. I've decided to change my ways today. I am going to advocate on the Christian side. Go ahead and ask me a couple of questions, and I'm going to play the Christian today.
So sin? How can sin exist if I don't believe in your God? Give you a tough one.
Because God said it was existent, and it's in the Bible. I can't quote the scriptures, and I can't provide any actual evidence, but God said so that's why. Next question.
You have to, but is God you have to now prove that God exists.
Well, God exists. Just accept it. It's in the Bible. The Bible says it, and that means it is 100% infallible. Next question. Proof of God.
So if you believe in God, then you believe in the devil?
Well, the devil is the enemy of God, has nothing to do with God, is not associated with God. In fact, God hates the devil. He didn't even have anything to do with the creation of evil.
No, the Bible says
and the Bible says so that's 100%.
Yeah, the Bible said that God created evil and God created the devil, right? So how can you say he's not associated?
Well, I didn't read that part, so it doesn't count. It's not in the Bible that I read that part. So next question. I just answered that. Please stop harassing me, sir. Jesus loved me first. And because Jesus loves me, I know that you're going to harass me, but that's okay because Jesus loves me and he loves me first.
How about that? We don't want to hear all about your little testimony. Nobody cares about your testimony. All right, so stop your little.
Well, preaching. Jesus told me to tell you that.
Nobody cares
despite the rules of the chat.
Nobody cares about that. You're gonna follow my rules, or you're gonna get kicked.
Well, I'm a Christian, so God will protect me.
No, God won't protect you if he doesn't exist. And then if it wasn't for hell, so if God doesn't exist, the devil doesn't exist, then why does hell exist? How can hell exist?
Hell is where you're going, sir, because you don't believe in Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior.
So I'm supposed to so God doesn't want you to have free will.
Oh, of course he accepts free will. And don't even give me that stuff about Pharaoh. Pharaoh's was hardened on his own free will. No. It wasn't like God told him before 2 times, before Moses ever got there.
Exactly.
Like, we don't pay attention to that part of the Bible. Come on now.
That sounds like a personal problem. So you willingly delude yourselves into believing in this so that you can avoid hell. So it's done out of fear.
100%. It's the cope.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait,
So
that was not very Christian of me. I actually told you the truth.
exactly.
All right. Sorry, it's hard.
Exactly. The truth. They always claim the truth will set you free, but yet they are unwilling to admit to the truth of their own book. And that is that this God.
Well, the truth will set you free, but it's not the freedom that you actually think it is. It's more of a freedom from the wrath of, Jesus's dad. Because if he's saving you from anything, he's saving you from his own dad's wrath.
Which is himself.
Right. So he's saving you from his own wrath. What an ego.
That is kind of sad. That this guy got to save you. He got to send himself into he has to send himself to be born through a young virgin girl, and he become a bastard child, to then sacrifice himself to save you from his original self.
Himself.
From the lake of fire that he created, according to this story. So he could have had a choice not to have the lake of fire. Like before they were influenced
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. You have to be literally desperate for a daddy or completely retarded. And with the average reading and comprehension of the American public being 7th to 8th grade, it makes a lot of sense why pastors and preachers have to dumb this shit down to the point where it doesn't even make sense for all of you Christians to be able to understand something that doesn't actually make sense because they had to dumb it down.
And it's just, if you were a god in the older times, before the influence of the Babylonians and the Persians, their God was better, because at least when you died then, you just ceased to exist. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have this awareness of existence. It's not until they start getting with the Babylonians and getting with the Persians that all of a sudden you can have some necromancy coming up, and all of a sudden you got, afterlife going on, because there's no afterlife.
Don't forget the cannibalism.
Yeah. During the flood, there was no afterlife. There was nothing in the flood that said these people are going to hell. Right? There's none. That's a later Christian stance on the people during the flood. There's nothing that said that Adam and Eve, where they went, where the children of Cain went, Abraham and all these people, nothing. Later, they are placed in these places because they're just making this shit up as they go along. At least the guy back then just, you lived, you died, that's it. That's why which is why they always were searching for immortality. You ever notice that in any of the Sumerian stories, the Akkadian stories, Assyrian, Babylonians, there was always man searched for immortality, because man did not believe in an afterlife back then. Not until really the Persians and the Greeks came onto the scene that afterlife really started taking hold. I mean, the Egyptians had their versions of it, but that came later as well. Right.
But even the Egyptian version of hell is not it's not the same at all.
Yeah, there is no
the total concept's very, 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 very different.
Yeah. And if you ever look at the Book of the Dead, the Egyptian concept of hell was the fact that you just ceased to exist. The Egyptian concept of heaven was that you went into the field of reeds, but you pretty much just lived the same life you was living before, but just a little bit better.
Yep.
So it was like that didn't make any sense. There was no great like, oh, I gotta get there, I gotta go there to be with Osiris. But when they got to this duality, it really fucked up the game and created this hell. And now all these people are, for the last 2,000, 2,100, 2,200 years, been terrified of some afterlife.
They went from the duat to the duality.
Pretty much. And
that's not only that, but they also made Set into something that he was never supposed to be. He was never an evil creature.
Mm-mm. Yeah, no,
he's a guidance. He's a messenger, if anything. He's much like the Jesus creature.
Yeah. And now the last teachings of Set is that he rides on the boat with Ra to fight Apophis every night. So he's actually helping to bring up the sun. And the reason why Set had to do that because every night Apophis becomes stronger and stronger, getting to the point where Ra couldn't handle him as easily. So now Seth went through a redemption arc to join Ra, to redeem himself from the whole story. So even in other people's stories who you thought to be bad, there was even gods had redemption stories, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But in the biblical story, there's no redemption. How cruel of a father do you have to be that your first original children, you don't have a redemption for them, but then you're going to come and give your stepkids some redemption or your second family some redemption?
After saying that he's not going to redeem anybody but the original children.
Mm-hmm. I always
I have a question for you, and I want your perspective on it. It talks about in Matthew how King Herod was the king. Why do you suppose Christians intentionally switched the Herod? Because there was two King Herods.
What do you mean?
You get what I'm saying?
So in Matthew,
so they switched the dating. But is it Herod the Great? Like the dating doesn't make sense if it's Herod the Great. It's the other Herod based off of the dating.
It would make sense if they was trying to match it. Luke, it would be Herod Archelaus. But
there you go. And then the other question, because I think you know where I'm getting to with that. But the other question that I have is, okay, in the story where Jesus goes down to Egypt, right? They escape to Egypt.
Right.
And because obviously the firstborn child is now reversed, and it's not, the chosen people are being protected by the firstborn genocide. In fact, it's the opposite, and Jesus is being protected. He goes down to Egypt. If anything, during that time, he would have gone most likely, assuming he existed, to Alexandria, where Philo at that point in time was a very prominent leader of the Jewish faith in Alexandria. Now, if this Jesus character were to be such a wise and astute young lad, don't you think that Philo may or probably would have mentioned that, hey, there was this kid and he was pretty smart. In fact, he was smarter than I was. But yet he doesn't say a goddamn thing about anything. And his version of the word is not a physical person.
So what's your question?
Like, does that make any sense to you?
No, it doesn't. You would, if this Jesus character, if this Joseph and Mary family they were not poor as people like to describe them.
No.
If you are a stonemason, a carpenter in that time frame, you upper middle class at the lowest. You upper middle class.
That's the Bentley dealers,
right? Because craftsmanships, you went through apprentices. You had to negotiate your way into it. It wasn't like today where you can just go to school, right? You had to. Usually, it was a caste system that you went through. So this Joseph was banking. Plus, if you understand passports or paperwork back then, the very few people can travel from wherever they wanted to, from country to country, or even province to province, without permission from the government. Stonemasons had that ability to travel anywhere within the Roman Empire without having to get paperwork from the governors. You just have to present your talisman or whatever it is that's demonstrate that you're a stonemason, right? Your skill craft, your craft. So if he would have went to Alexandria, it would have been known that here's another craftsman, an important craftsman coming into Alexandria. That would have caught Philo's attention, because Philo was running that damn thing.
Yep.
Philo was he was, if not the richest man in Rome at that time frame. Somebody would have brought it up to Philo. And then if Jesus would have been displaying this intelligence, because it would have been
exploited.
Right. Now, the only problem is we don't know how long the Egyptian portion supposedly lasted. Was he there until he was 12? Was he there until was he only there for a couple of years, 2-3 years? That's the only problem. We don't know how long he was down there. We know that he was down there long enough for Herod to die. And then, so that would place him down there until around 4 BCE. And then,
depending on the Herod.
Well, no, that's Herod the Great. See, that's another reason. This is why we know it's Herod the Great that they're referring to, because in Matthew, when he says that they were coming out of Egypt, they were on their way back to Bethlehem, but an angel came and spoke to Joseph and told Joseph that Herod Archelaus was ruling. And so that's why he went to Nazareth. Well, went to Galilee and to the city of Nazareth. So we know that Herod Archelaus.
Well, keep in mind, I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm going to pull the Christian on you and be rude. The Jesus of Galilee, right? Galilee wasn't. Galileans were a people group. It was not a region. It was not a landmass at that point in time. Like, effectively, if you bring in the dating and everything like that of the history that they claim to have, kind of like the Egyptian conquest, there's nothing fucking there. Not a single fucking stele.
No, Galilee was a region. It was a region that was a protectorate of Rome. That's why you had Herod.
Right. But what I'm saying, though, is at that point in time, it was the people, not the landmass. And later on, to my knowledge, I could be fucking wrong, because Bible history is, well,
you're wrong.
The more I forget, the better I am.
You're wrong.
Hey, it happens every once in a while.
There was the region around the Sea of Galilee. That region was, that landmass was considered Galilee, and it was in the Romans.
It was considered okay.
Yeah, that was a landmass. I mean, the people there were Galileans.
Well, I know that I've read the writings of Tiberius, where he talks about going to Galilee and making fishers of men, where they were putting down Jewish uprising and literally killing people by the bodies, to the point like you're trying to stab and you're just stabbing dead people. Like, there aren't any more living people, and there's bodies to prove that.
Yeah, and remember Josephus, who was I can't remember if he was a zealot or a Sadducee or Pharisee. He was one of them. He was in one of them groups. Remember, as a young man, he traveled. He was a part of a Galilean envoy that they were under Roman rule, but they were, a tribute state. And remember, they went to Rome to have conferences with Nero.
Right.
When he was
not
Nero, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
During that
he was also very astute and actually performed teachings as a young child in the synagogues. That was Josephus, and that is in his writings.
Yeah, and that he did go see Nero. Sorry, he did go see Nero.
Yeah.
It was
he's Flavian.
Well, he becomes Flavian later. But he was part of a
Yes,
Galilean envoy that went to go see Nero, came back. He became the leader of a Galilean forces that then wound up fighting against Titus and Vespasian. And then he sucker punked everybody. He flipped teams.
Did he really though? Or do you like he was out to save his own ass?
You was mechanical right there, so
I think he was all on that team.
You were mechanical, so I ain't understand nothing you said.
My bad. No, I was coughing. No, what I was saying is, do you think that he was ever on any other team but his?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
If you look at his writings,
yeah, he's Team Josephus all day long.
Not even Flavian.
Yeah, no, not even.
But Josephus, if you look at writings, he's attributed to be like so many different people. Joseph of Arimathea, that's Josephus.
Mm-hmm. He wrote
he wrote himself into that whole book. He took his own personal experience and plagiarized it to add in some aspect of other ancient gods and claimed he was a god effectively. Josephus, Jesus, not too far off. And with plagiarism or pseudonyms back then, he wrote under all sorts of pseudonyms.
Honestly, I think that he is he's the writer of Paul. Either him or Philo. One of those two other writers of Paul. I don't think.
I would say it's a combination between the two of them and some other Flavians.
Yeah, and then other people.
But there's no way that they could have put that. There's no way they could have put that book together unless they had a very firm understanding of the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they're able to so easily deceive Christians into believing that, you know, for us or for today, a son is born, to us, a child is given. Bullshit. Read the fucking context.
Yep.
But nobody could read back then. So they just recopied it and it sounded good enough from what they had been hearing in the synagogue. It was just close enough. And there was also the other aspect of that, which was cultural norms or cultural morality, which they were already believing in virgin births and, you know, but it was all of the gods. It was not of men. And that's what Christianity did. It made man into a god, just like the Egyptians.
No, you're right. And it does. I agree. But look here, dude. Let me see if this other person is still available to come on.
All right, man. It's nice chatting with you. I enjoyed playing the Christian role, and you're going to hell. Jesus will save you, but only from himself and his Father's wrath. And keep up the good work.
Party in hell, buddy. Be there.
It ain't there.
I know. Empty space. All right, later. Let's see. I don't know if Conscious Loner is still there. Yep. Conscious Loner.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
I've live a few times, but I never dropped in. But I just wanted to tell you that keep doing what you're doing. I haven't really just listened, and the title says enough. Deconstructing Christianity. I mean, keep doing what you're doing. Hopefully, it can wake up people that need to be woken up. Because I understand that everybody's not gonna be down with deconstructing Christianity, but again, just keep doing what you're doing. I really do think that it's very important, like to wake some people up as you can, if you're open to it.
I appreciate that. How long have you been? Y'all, so I assume that you've deconstructed from Christianity.
It's been I want to say about 6 years now. So I'm kind of I want to say a late bloomer. But once I came across, I can't remember the one video, and it just made so much sense. Like it didn't take like me to just get a whole bunch of books and go.
Mhm.
Once I heard this one, it was a video somebody shared with me, and I listened to him, and it was basically how Christianity is a sham, you know, and it just felt so comfortable to my soul. I'm like, oh, okay, you know. And then when I was able to do other research, then I was comfortable with sharing how my beliefs or lack thereof had changed with, you know, people in my waking world. So yeah, for about 6 years now.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. I know you weren't counting on this part, but you're here, so you're gonna get it. Do you still have any emotional attachments to where every now and then that little trigger comes up about the fear of hell or the devil or anything? Okay.
When I walk outside my house, I have to deal with lower vibrational energies or people that I'm just gonna say lower vibrational energies just to keep it like that.
Okay.
Like hell to me. When I walk outside of my comfort zone, outside my bubble, outside my safe space, you get what I'm saying?
No, I understand what you're saying.
That's when I know that not that I can't enjoy, you know, life outside of my comfort zone, but I'm always watching out and making sure that, like, I'm on guard, like my energy is protected. So I don't know if that answered your question, but no, I do not at all. Like, I don't have the fears. I feel like.
So how did you get past that? Like, what do you remember? What helped you to get past the emotional attachment of the fear of hell?
Well, a little background, and my dad is a preacher, and my mom is a Bible thumper. If they would have made it, you know, after a couple of that say, you know, longevity, I'm pretty sure she would have been the first lady. You get what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
However, now what helped me with that was being a preacher's kid and knowing that my dad was following these certain laws, but he had a daughter that he didn't really, not that he didn't claim, but he didn't make the effort to have a relationship. So, and it helped me understand that if you, and not only just him, but if you can't follow the Bible, or if you don't even care about your own child, then there's something in those texts that isn't grasping to you, to me. So it never, like I can't really, it's just, like I said, it wasn't, I never even thought about it. Even when I came out to like my mom and just everybody, because I wanted people to have a choice. Because a lot of people that I surround myself with were surrounded with their Christians, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to give people the choice to left with me or not. But this is where I'm at with it. So I don't know if I answered your question. So I'm gonna stop to see if I answered your question or not.
Somewhat. I read into it. I'm reading into it a little bit. The fact that your father he didn't demonstrate a reality of him living according to what he was preaching. So in that instance, that kept your emotions from becoming overly developed into the belief. So
it helped me sit and realize that this is why I think it helped me release the emotional or fear of hell was because people that say they're Christians or they follow the Bible, they believe in God, this, that, and the other, that doesn't change how they treat people in their waking lives.
right.
So if you don't have, if I feel the things that I do, I'm a good person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I try to make sure that I don't spew my energy. Like if I'm having a bad day and I come across you, I try to chill that and just be, you know, a decent person in my waking life if I run into different people. And I know people that I've known for 20 years, 10 years, 5 years that, oh, God knows my heart. When you'll turn around, you'll say that, you'll turn around, you'll snake people, you'll talk behind their back, you'll do something, you know what I'm saying? So if you don't have a fear of hell. And even though you have a belief of hell, you get what I'm saying?
No, I'm with you. They have that coping.
I have a fear of hell when I'm gonna say I'm in a better energy or better person, energy wise. I'm actually I'm a genuine person. I'm a nice person, so I'm not doing anything wrong. And I'll say this to myself: if I have made a wrong choice in my life, leaving religion, then that's something I have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a judge to judge me, then it's not on nobody else. You get what I'm saying? So.
No, I think I understand what you're saying, because it sounds like you critically thought through the process that if these people are acting a fool, not living according to the belief that they have, then and they're not afraid of hell, then why should I? And I don't even believe what they do, but I live a better life than they do, treat people better. So I certainly shouldn't have a fear of hell. So it's just a logical thought process, and which is a good one, because oftentimes some of my challenges with helping other people is them getting past the emotional connection that they still have, even though they logically know that this story is not true. And I always tell them that once you can separate the emotions from the logic, then the logic will overwhelm the emotions to the point where the connection dissolves, because it doesn't make any sense to stay emotionally connected to this religion, to the idea of hell, to the fear of hell.
And I think that people do that. Like, I come across a lot of people on TikTok. We come across a lot of people on TikTok, and a lot of people have these labels like highly blessed. Highly favorite, highly blessed, God first, God's favorite daughter, and this, that, and the other. And your waking life does not embody it. It could. I'm not gonna say it's not for everybody, but the amount of disrespect that people give to their own religion and the things that you do, I think you should be like a nun. No, I think you should be who you are and accept that the stuff that you're doing, even if you do believe in Jesus, God, the devil, then you should be scared. Like, you should be walking straight lines. No, come on now. People will bust it down with a cross on it. Come on now. Logically, like, how does that make sense? God don't play about me. But then you out here doing something sneaky to somebody else. So, and every time I think I had a person that would portray themselves as my friend, and this person will always say, Jesus, you know my heart. And once I disconnected from that person, I always think about what she said. Jesus know my heart, and I have an answer for that. Yeah, it's raggedy as a motherfucker. Excuse my language. It's raggedy. It's raggedy.
It's all right.
You know it.
I cuss on here all the time.
I don't want to curse on your live in case, something like that.
I curse. Girl, I'm smoking a cigar, and I curse on here all the time. So you think I care?
But yeah, just tell me, y'all be saying anything that'll make you feel better. Like,
yeah,
to make you feel better about the bullshit that you spew around. You get what I'm saying? Instead of actively working on yourself, you would put, this is another saying that I have. And I say it like, they say Jesus, he has the whole world in his hands. I said, well, I slip through the crack. Because he that little space when you're trying to hold some water in your hand and that little.
And you can't do it.
That was me. He got the whole way. If he got y'all, you know what? That means he got his hands full. I'm gonna have it. I got my own thing. Let me go let him have y'all part. And I'm gonna do my own thing. You get what I'm saying? So.
No, I understand, and it reminds me. It's always so. Anyway, last night, one of the things that you said about how people say God is in my heart, or they're always invoking God into everything, but they're living a life that is totally opposite of it. And if they were trying to live a life, if they truly believed in this, then they would live a godly life as it's described in the Bible. And so last night, my wife and I was watching the first episode of this little series about Magic City. I don't know if you know what Magic City is. It was on Prime, but it's on HBO. So if you're not from Atlanta, you really don't. You might not know Magic City, but Magic City, that is the most prominent Black strip club in the world. right? Millions of dollars go through there on a Friday, Saturday night, right? So, but the people who was in the video, the man who owned it, Mr. Magic, his wife, his bouncers, the girls, and I'm not downing people who do this for a living, because I know girls who worked in Magic City, and those jokers, they live in a great life, and they were nice people, but they were in there talking. Every now and then you'll hear them invoke God bless me, or God this and God that. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, if you truly believed in God, not that there's anything wrong with anything that y'all are doing as far as I'm concerned, but according to this Bible, all y'all, and then they had the athletes on there and the rappers and the singers. I'm like, ain't none of y'all living the life according to this God that y'all talk about. Y'all should have never darkened those doors, and the man should have never opened a dang on place, right? If you actually believed in this, but you got your loophole, and that's the thing. They got their loophole, their little coping device that says that, oh, God knows my heart, or all I got to do is ask for forgiveness. I mean, you go home with a stack, with 10 stacks, talking about some, oh, I'm going to bless this money, and because God blessed. God, if you believe in the God of the Bible, he ain't blessed no strip of money.
Okay, like you didn't hear it. If you talking about the same God, are you talking about the one that did what happened in Babylon?
Mm-hmm.
Like, but that's how I know that the north there has to be something where the neurons aren't connected, because there's something that you said about me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not, and I appreciate you saying that, but when I took one of the SAT some years, I mean not some years ago, but when I took SAT, a counselor brought up to me there's something very important that I do, critical thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you brought that back up to me because I literally, it's some things, like I think, are just, once you put it in your mind and start like breaking down, put it as a formula or an equation, it's easy to see that something is not right. We can be, it don't even have to be in current time. We can go back to slavery. If these people were following the Bible, they would never have treated Black people how they were supposed to actually be treated.
Mm-mm.
That instilled fear into the mass. Okay.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Those, and I know you might get mad at me for this one, but the Europeans, the Americans, treated Black people exactly how the Bible says you are to treat slaves. They were actually right. So Leviticus 25 verses 44 through 49 clearly states that of the nation of the foreigners amongst you and the foreign nations around you, you may buy your male and female slaves, own them as property, and then pass them down to your sons as an inheritance of property. They did that. It also says that now, as far as your fellow Israelites, you are not to treat them harshly as you would a slave. So slaves can be treated harshly. Exodus 20 says that if you beat a slave, and it's talking about a foreign slave, it's not an Israelite servant. If you beat a slave, and as long as he doesn't die within the first couple of days, then the master is not punished. But if he does die within the first couple of days, then the master is punished because he's violated his property rights. If you look at some of the laws, I don't know, like I said, I don't know where you are, but like in Louisiana and Alabama, they have laws on the books that says that if you beat your slave and he dies from the beating within the first day or so, then you are fined property taxation. But if they don't die, if they live a couple of days and then they die, then it's not the master's fault. You're not fined property assessments. So beating a slave is straight up Bible.
Right. Okay. So, but this is what's so funny to me. Still, even when there were slaves that learned to read and learned to preach, like, what would not quick to still know that, well, maybe I guess they did read it and feel like it was a part of their life or something.
I mean, they were indoctrinated into it to believe in it. They had lost the belief in their ancestral gods.
Right.
They were being oppressed. So just like how the Bible itself, you can see when they were under Assyrians, under Babylonians, under Persians, you can see how Judaism changed based on being under those captivities.
Right.
So when Black people were forced here, and even the ones who were indigenous here were forced into slavery, they adapted into the dominant culture. Oh, and let me throw you one more out there to show you how they were doing exactly how the Bible says. The Bible says that if you have a POW, right, and these are people you've conquered, and you've enslaved them, and if you see a woman that you think looks good to you and you want to marry her, then you shave her head, you let her grieve for a certain amount of time, and then you go and you force yourself to have sex with her. You force sex on her, and she then becomes your wife. Now, it wasn't the American version, the North American version, the United States, they would just have sex with the woman, never make them their wives. But down in South America, the Portuguese would force these African women and these indigenous women to become their concubine wives on their compounds. And if they had a son, the son was given freedom. If they had a daughter, the daughter remained enslaved. And that also follows along how a woman who is enslaved for life. And if she has a daughter, the daughter is enslaved for life, but the sons can be given freedom.
Oh, I did not know that.
And the breeding. You know how they bred slaves in America after the transatlantic slave trade was outlawed, right? It also talks about, now this is really Israelite to Israelite, but it says that if an Israelite come in as a slave, a servant, indigent servant, and he's an indigent servant for 7 years, at the year of Jubilee, he is set free. Now, if the master gave him a wife and they had children, the wife and the children still remain slaves. So now if the Israelite want to remain with his family, then he can become a slave for life as well. But that idea of if the slave produces children and has a wife, then the children still are slaves no matter what, which is something that was done in the Americas as well with the breeding processes.
Wow.
So they were following the Bible.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not saying it was good. That's one of the reasons. Yeah, that's.
It makes more sense to now. If they were following the Bible, then but they never looked at. Which I knew that they never looked at slaves or them at any point as humans. They only looked at them as something beneath, something to be conquered, something to be used, something to be.
Because they were property. They were simply viewed as property. That's why, you've heard of the 2/5 compromise, right?
No.
Well, okay. So you know how people say that they only looked at Black people as 2/5 of a man.
Yes.
So that comes from the 2/5 compromise. The South was saying that for every slave, we should have a vote because slaves are born in America, so they should have American citizenship. But the North was like, nah, they're slaves, so they don't get citizenship. So you don't get a vote for every slave that you have, because that would have given the South way more political power than the North.
Right. So
the compromise was, and the North was also saying that since those are not citizens and they're property, we're going to tax you based on them being property. So the compromise was a slave is counted as 2/5 of a man, 2/5 for votes, 2/5 for property taxation. And that's the 2/5 of a man compromise, the 2/5 compromise in a nutshell. There's a lot more little nuances to it, but that's pretty much the overall idea of it. So it had nothing to do with humanity. That had to do with taxes and voting power.
Right.
And this is like in some of the documents that I found for my family, I can see it shows some of the tax books for my family back in the 1850s and before, it counts the slaves and then it shows the taxation for each slave.
Wow.
Yeah, because of the 2/5 compromise. But that was following the Bible, because the Bible, the North was saying, no, slaves are property, just like the Bible says they are.
Right.
Yeah. So the North wasn't that much better.
Yeah, everybody trying to get there.
Yeah. So Christians today don't want to accept that. They don't want to accept that that all slavery done under Christianity was done according to what the Bible says and how you're supposed to do slavery. And they did it that way. And it's not just people out of Africa or in the Americas. They treated the Christian Romans treated British slaves the same way. Then the Brits later on, when they got their freedom, treated the Irish and the Scottish the same way of slavery. It wasn't until the 1500s, when race was created, that then the Scottish and the Irish were treated as indentured servants, and now the race-based slavery was the foreigner. When before it was, oh, you're Irish, you're a foreigner, so we can treat you as property. Pope Nicholas V created racism, so now we got y'all. Now you're indentured servants. That's why many of the Irish and Scottish and Italians came over as indentured servants. But then because they now identified the white as being a tribe, and black was the foreigners.
Mm-hmm.
Well, black and brown, and I guess red. Depends upon people's thought processes on what race is. Yeah.
Will I don't even, I'm not really, when it comes to race, but I know, because I know what your life is, but I don't really get into those debates, because you have to have accountability to even accept about systematic racism or any level of racism. You have to have a level of accountability. Like, you have to be open to that. Like, people, so two things I don't really deal with, because those are headaches to me. Race is not one of them. It's really more politics, but race and politics kind of go hand in hand to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, who quote unquote running the world? You know what I'm saying? And it's all kind of race things.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, no, I agree. And it's irritating. I actually, decades ago, I'm getting old. Decades ago.
You just get more seasoned.
God dang. The fact that I can say decades ago. I used to do a radio show on AM channel and it was politics, and it drove me crazy. After 2 years of it, I couldn't do it no more. It's more of a headache. I could talk about this far easier and deal with this than I can talk about, the politics. And because politics involves so much race, it drove me crazy. I had to let that trash go. I can't do it.
I just feel like when I used to be on social media in these different groups, going at people about race and politics and stuff like that, it will still just show me how indoctrinated you can be, even in that area. You get what I'm saying? People just always talk about, oh, you must be a liberal, or you're this and you're that. And I'm like, I tell people, when they clock out, they go and have a drink.
Yeah.
When y'all be talking about the red and the blue, when they clock out and leave off of Capitol Hill and all that arena that they perform and run all that jargon, they will have dinners together, just like police and detectives and stuff like that, and lawyers. Like, y'all don't get that? Like, this is a job that they are. This is a performance for them. This is a job that they get paid to do. They don't have to necessarily keep that same ideology when they clock out. And with you guys, the people, the masses, y'all hold on to it 24/7, 24/8. Like, y'all don't think that people are friends?
Exactly. They are. It's the two heads of the same snake. So I just let it be.
not get it. And that's another reason when I used to really, logically, I could feel the point that I'm making. It's like, you don't get it. People are really, oh no, the liberals and the this and the that, and you must be the right. Like, see how they have y'all separated? But it's like I said, they clock out at 5 o'clock.
It sure do.
My apologies. Sometimes they may go 8 o'clock. Whatever time they clock out. And then they'll look over at each other. You want to go have a drink, or you want to go down to some?
Go to Epstein. They all go to Epstein's Island because they all friends and follow the same stuff.
And this is another thing that people say the media is harming America, but the media is showing you things that you don't want to see. Just for example, because this just popped up in my head, I was talking to my mama about,
Wait a minute, hold on. Wait a minute. Okay.
So
Start over. Wait a minute. Wait. My phone started ringing. So you said you was talking to your mom, and then go from there.
I was talking to my mom. I was telling her about this post that I came across. It was regarding how they were still talking about the government shutdown SNAP benefit debacle, right? Right. So on Friday, because that was like Halloween, the president had a party. So it was posted on a news coverage, and immediately I'm like, anybody that is seeing this, y'all don't see, he don't care. It's people, quote unquote, that have been fear mongered, and they're worried about where their next meal is possibly not coming from. You get what I'm saying? Possibly not coming from. And he had a party where he's feeding people that are not having these problems. Like, y'all don't get that? Like, that's like a joke. Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I saw that.
That let me know how that's another thing it falls back onto Christianity. They say turn the other cheek. They slap you in the face with all these different, obvious things. And then y'all just turn y'all head and they'll slap the other side. It's not, I don't care what you, like, they don't get it. But like I said, I enjoy. And another thing I like about your lives is when you have had people in here, it is not a bunch of hooping and hollering and arguing. And I cannot deal with that. I cannot deal with it. I understand we get passionate, but me being consciously aware, I think that if I can't change, I'm not here to change you. If I can enlighten you by something I've said, then by all means, receive it. If you like, okay, no problem. But I'm not here to force you into change. I can't force you to wake up. So I'm not going to get mad if you still don't agree with what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying? I still respect how you feel. I don't have to agree with how you feel. But for us to be arguing, name calling, and stuff like that, even in your own indoctrination, I still don't feel like I need to abuse you. You get what I'm saying? Because if you get it, you get it. You don't, you don't. Maybe you'll get it next lifetime.
Maybe. And I appreciate that. And I did try it at first to have multiple people on, but it turns into all that yelling and screaming and people over talking each other. And you'll have these moments that may last for 5 minutes where everybody's trying to talk. And then somebody got to moderate it and try to get everybody to calm down. And that just irritated me. And so after I did it one time, I was like, I'm not doing that no more. It's one person at a time. And if people in the waiting room, they can't wait, that's their problem, not mine. I try to keep conversations till no more than 20 minutes. So I'll look at the clock.
What's my running time?
Oh, you passed 20 minutes. But
jump down in a minute anyway, but I'm gonna follow you because, like I said, I do like your lives and stuff like that. But thank you. I want to thank you too because, and I didn't get upset because, like I said, if my mind receives something like you said about the Bible, even though I don't mess with the Bible, when I hear scriptures, they give me headaches. But when you gave me that information about how they were just following the Bible, the slave masters and stuff, it was easy for me to pick up what you put down. You get what I'm saying? It's not nothing that would upset me because, like I said, that's just something to help me be more knowledgeable. So when I do speak up, I can release that. I can't not be mad. I can understand more. They were actually
Mhm.
following a set of laws that they felt they were doing right. We were just the slaves were just who they were doing it on. My people were who they were doing it on.
Right. And that's why some people get mad at me when I point that out, because they want to villainize the white people. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not villainizing the white people. I'm villainizing the slavery that's in the Bible that these people were following. It just so happens my ancestors were the victims of it.
Right, right.
You know, and I'm pretty sure I have ancestors who were probably victims of some type of slavery in Africa before the white person ever came there. We ever went there, because slavery is older than every religion.
Right.
You know, it's been around, but how it's conducted is not always the same.
Yeah.
And I'm just expressing how the Bible conducts slavery. And a lot of black people don't like that, because they want to be mad at white people and be able to hold on to Christianity and say, well, they were wrong in their Christianity, so I can't put that on God. And that allows me to still believe in this God, but still hate the institution of slavery that my ancestors went through. And
right.
So it takes that away, and they get mad.
When you should be hating what's in that book.
Yeah.
The book, and it's another thing I am going to jump down, because, like I said, in my consciousness, the first when I left religion, I was more spiritual, you know, and I still am spiritual to a degree, but it was almost to where it's kind of like you leave one place and you hit like this lobby to where you're in this spiritual lobby, I'll say. And then you come across spiritual people that are also spiritual, and it's the fuck Jesus crew. Which, I mean, you know, do you? You know what I'm saying? But that still, to me, has so much angering when it's beyond that. I don't need to be worrying about sky daddies and calling people sleep and making them feel bad, because I feel like I've had this level of enlightenment now that I'm, you know, I'm better. Even though my enlightenment does make me better, I can't take away from that. It's not for me to be grandiose about it.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
So that's when I shedded more of, and my mom helped me see, like, she kind of wordplay my name, like, I like your name, because when she saw it on social media, she was like, a conscious loner. Like, that just let people know that you are conscious and you are alone. You know what I'm saying? Not alone in a bad way, but
no, you're not going to turn to a sheep and just follow somebody.
Yeah, and also I'm like I said, everybody have their time to wake up. You know what I'm saying? If you wake up in this lifetime, by all means, welcome. If you don't wake up, and if you not, because I feel like everybody is not gonna, we not all have a kumbaya world.
No.
Everything is how it's gonna be. People wake up. Some people ain't gonna wake up. People gonna die being a Christian. They're gonna wake up in the next lifetime and pick it up again. You know what I'm saying? Some people will die and pick it up in the next lifetime. They may drop it, but it is what it is. Like, we cannot be mad if people don't understand that they are indoctrinated. You get what I'm saying? And that's what I like about July. So I am gonna jump down, because I will get to rambling.
It's all right.
Okay. Thank you again, and I'll see you soon.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Bye. Let's see if Vincent's still waiting. Let me see something here. I'll move the mic back again. I know some people were saying, well, Boss Lady was saying that she couldn't hear everything she was saying, so I moved the mic. Vincent.
How you doing?
Pretty good. Hold on for 1 second. So let me know if you guys are hearing Vincent clearly. If not, I'll move the mic again. I'm just doing a test here, Vincent. But go ahead.
How you doing, man?
Pretty good.
You know, sometimes I'll be trying to go to sleep and I like put your things on. So I put the Jericho thing on the
Joshua Jericho. Oh, you talking about a video that I made?
Yeah, you know, sometimes like for you know, it's like recommender.
Okay.
I woke up like 3 o'clock in the morning type shit. It's kind of wicked.
Okay.
Joshua was really Napoleon. I was like, this is
Yeah, I can see Napoleon repeating and Joshua having similarities.
this is a little epic little myth that they created for themselves to make themselves fill in the blanks.
Exactly, because there's zero proof of Joshua, and actually, there's more proof against the Joshua story than there is for it. Just simply the fact that the walls of Jericho had already been down for a couple of 100 years, well, about 100 years before the Joshua story could have ever happened.
And then when they wrote it, the literary style that they wrote it in, so they was already influenced by the Greeks when they wrote that story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because many people try to think that Moses wrote these stories, or that Joshua wrote Joshua, rather. But these stories were not written until much, much later. At the earliest that they could have been first written down in a rudimentary form would have been in the 700s and 600s BCE. But in truth, most of these stories are written down around the 500s and 400s as they came through the Babylonian, Persian, and into the Greek. And they weren't all the final edits happened under the Greek rule going into the Roman rule.
Yeah, they're not into what's called the Septuagint Greek.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they got what's it? How you say Lenin?
Come on, the Lenin.
Codex.
Yeah, the Leningrad Codex. You got the Sinaitic Codex Sinaiticus, Septuagint.
It was already on the Arab.
Yeah, so you had and even with the Septuagint, which was the writing of the Old Testament in Greek, there were many mistakes that were made, and none of those things could have, and all of them were written in the time frame that they were under Greek rule. So they had, and because Greek and Semitic language are so different, you had many times where they had to interpolate a word or an idea instead of actually writing it.
It's like you and I, if we had African culture, that's like just writing about Africa in English, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, trying to take an African story and turn it into an English story without the
English motifs. We're gonna use all the movies we watched.
Oh, of course, yeah.
We didn't watch and experience
it. It's funny that you say that, because I like one of the ideas that I have for people is to utilize AI and take some of these stories, like the Shango story, and you can pretty much create your own superhero movies or your own mythological stories that are like Marvel stories today. But of course, if you're writing it from an American perspective, it's going to follow an American motif. It's not going to follow a Yoruba or Igbo motif. So it's not. So people in Nigeria are going to look at it. If you made it in America, people in Nigeria are going to look at it like, well, they got some stuff right, but a lot of stuff wrong. You know what I mean? Because there's no way we're going to know the true personality of those Orishas and be able to express them in that way. But if you had a night,
if I moved to Levant right now,
mm-hmm.
I would be so afraid.
Yeah, you would. It would take you some time to get used to it.
What am I supposed to do? Like, what do you look like?
I mean, the thing about it, if you like, so I spent like 8 weeks in the Levant, right? Well, the whole Levant, I spent a lot more time, but if you just count this one cycle of my life, I spent 8 weeks in Israel. But everything I was doing there, I still had an American perspective. I was still making some cultural mistakes. Hell, I lived in Germany for 3.5 years and still was making cultural mistakes to the day I left. Because you just...
He was in NFL, all that. He was in Germany, while he was going through his little, get into the league. He hated it out there.
Hated out where?
He did what he did.
Hated it. He hated it where?
In Germany, because he was American. And when he was in Germany, doing his overseas football thing.
Oh, okay.
He didn't like it. He ate the food. He ate the women. He didn't like it. He
Hey,
didn't wait to get back home.
he didn't know how to live there. I loved it. But that's perspective though. Okay, can y'all hear him better now? That's the perspective that I'm talking about.
I'm bad. I'm not coming in good.
No, I'm just so I got this microphone, but I know if it's here, your sound. No, it's not you. If I have it here, they may not be able to hear you as well. But if I move it out, I think that allows them to hear you better. I got a new microphone, so I'm just figuring it out how to best utilize it. No, but I mean, to that point, I had plenty of military people who were the same way. The ones who stayed on base all the time, the one who wanted Germany to do things that Americans do, are the ones who hated it. Like, I'll tell the story of this woman. I was standing behind her in line at KFC in Augsburg. She was mad because they didn't speak English. You're in Germany, out in town. You're not on base. Of course, they may only speak German. Why do you want to force them to speak English just because it's an American company? That's dumb. That'd be like going to a Volkswagen dealership, and the Volkswagen dealership in America says that we're only going to speak German because we're a German company, right? So it made no sense. So a lot of people have that problem because they are stuck in their mindset of America and not realizing that you're in someone else's country. You adapt to them. So that's your homeboy fault. I love Germany.
He did what he did. He made it to the NFL and that shit. That motherfucker got a house in Calabasas, so he good.
Yeah, well, I mean, that part. I do.
Hey, go back to the Bible stuff,
Yeah.
man. So the Bible condones slavery, genocide, rape, kidnapping, bigotry, gender foolishness, sexually foolishness, misogyny, physical punishment. This is per ChatGPT. A caste system.
Yep.
Put vote or die. I don't know what that means. Divine punishment, sex slaves, infant mortality, real estate fraud, I guess. And I run this bitch.
I mean, it does. But people they've massaged it to where they can romanticize it and only focus on the parts that fit our morality and our motif of life today. But if you truly open your eyes to it, you see that this God fits all those things that you say. The Bible fits all those things that you said. Right.
But that's for ChatGPT. But that's what's crazy. It's like you can see, like, for instance, these leaders of these worlds and how they behave and how they're able to manipulate the legal system and do what they do. It's clearly written or penned by someone coming from that point of view. Maybe it was the priesthood, maybe it was the government, or whatever it was.
Oh, definitely. There is not one religion that did not come from the elites. Every religion comes from whoever the elite group in that grouping, whether it's a tribe and you have the king and the chief or the, whomever, it's always the elites of any group that creates and runs a religion. It is never the average person. Yeah. Average fishermen are not writing in a perfect Koine Greek. That's not happening. This has to be written by someone who is very well educated, and then someone who has the power and connections to be able to disseminate this whole belief. Otherwise, it doesn't happen at all. Even when we look at the different denominations, John Smith cannot start Mormonism if John Smith was not at a educated elite mindset followed by charisma so that people will follow him. It's just like, that's why
You remember me?
What's that?
You remember me?
Yeah.
So I'm from Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, I know. That's why I didn't ask if you were over 21, because I remember you.
I grew up in gay banging culture and around pimps and stuff. So I've seen how OGs can manipulate their homies to do foolishness. And I've seen pimps manipulate hoes to do foolishness. And it's literally the same thing going on, just on a different
women, not hoes.
You know what
I know what you said. Women.
Yeah, women.
Thank you.
they're victims of someone manipulating them because they have more experience and they know how to manipulate people. And same thing is with like older cats, go boys in the neighborhood taking advantage of youngsters. It's the same game. It's just different levels.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you look at all the prominent preachers in the world, even though some of them started out poor or something of that nature, they all went through a process where they had to elevate their education, or they went through a process of nepotism that gave them their notoriety. But none of them grew. You never see the small church pastor who may not know how to read or only got a GED or something like that, or has not went through some type of, whether in-house or outside the house seminary, in order to, and them become the influential preacher that they are today. They had to raise themselves up to that elite level through their education and their logical thinking in order for them to get there. Like Creflo Dollar is not dumb. Old boy up in Dallas, I forgot his name, old smiling ass dude. He inherited that from his daddy. And his daddy had sent him to school.
I think TD Jakes started from his garage initially.
No. TD Jakes, I think he was working, I forgot where he was working, but he was walking around preaching all day while he was working, and somebody noticed him and his ability to preach. But then he still had to go through the steps of getting more education in seminary in order for him to become who he is. So I'm saying you can start, but you have to have a talent and gain the education. And then somebody has to bring you into the social circles that will allow for you to join the elites to be able to do it. So he still had that. But that's why I'm saying you can have I know of a much better more knowledgeable preachers than TD Jakes, but they didn't have the network, the connections, so that they can get to that level. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you said.
Yeah. So you still got to have that connection. You know, you got to know the right people in order to make it happen. And those elite people are the ones who govern, the ones who dictate what society is going to do and what society is not going to do. Right. That's why you'll see like you were talking about in the media earlier. That's why you'll see a media story, or maybe it was the young lady was saying something about the media, but you'll see a media story and it's the same script that every newscaster is saying, because one person in charge gave that script, and that's the script that they're all going to follow.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. So it's a constant fight against the elites in order to, if you ever want to gain truth of anything, you got to fight the elite mindset in order to get past it.
So basically you got to join a club.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to join a club. Now, the beauty of today, though, with social media and with the internet, is the fact that the average person now has more accessibility to a larger group of people than they ever have before. So so you can grow something without being a part of the larger thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is why you'll see a lot. Have you noticed that on TikTok, especially TikTok, there's a lot of, I'm on here doing a live and I'm preaching to people, because now you don't need to, you can reach an audience that's larger than your neighborhood, larger than your city. Yeah, so it's changing it up a little bit, but even in that, like when I talk about business to people, even in that, it's that 1, 2, 3 people that you connect with or that connects to you that then explodes out, that pushes you out. So like I give the example often of when I started my fitness company, when I first started, it was great that I had like 4 or 5 clients that initially started. But it was this one lady, Kim Hairston. She was the super promoter. She had all the connections in Alpharetta, Johns Creek, Roswell, Buckhead, and at one point in time, 98% of all my clients were one way or another connected to her. So it's that one person that blows your stuff up. It's that one share that somebody does of a video that all of a sudden the video starts to go viral. It's not everybody sharing. It's that one share that blows it up. You know, so just like the documentary I was just watching about the strip club Magic City, he was running that thing for 5 years. But when Dominique Wilkins started showing up, that's what blew it up.
Yeah, that happened. You know, I'm into music, and that's what happened to a lot of musicians. Like, they will make that one song that they didn't even like.
Mm-hmm.
They just go.
Yeah, so that's all you need. But I appreciate you being on here, man. Got to keep moving. Got to keep the show moving.
Go ahead, man.
All right, appreciate you.
Yeah.
Let's see, how do I do this? Let's see. All right. Okay, so anytime I have somebody on TikTok, I'm gonna have to move the mic so that y'all can hear them better. We learning. So let me give y'all. Let me go through some reminders real quick. We're doing the cruise October 31st through November 4th out of New Orleans on the Carnival Cruise Valor. We'll be going to Chichen Itza. Is the only excursion that I implore you to join, which is the one that for the cenote. So if you go to my Facebook page, you'll see it as a pinned item on my Facebook page and an event. So that if you need to room up with somebody, because the cruises are double occupancy, then you may be able to find somebody on the Facebook page who's looking for somebody to share a cabin with. I'm doing a webinar on December 14th. You can go to my Facebook or to the link. Let me put the link in the comments for that. I forgot to do that. I'm doing a webinar on 9 businesses you should start in 2026. Look, the writing has always been on the wall. As new technologies come, as society changes, you have to always be aware of whether or not your industry is about to go away or not. But also just recognizing opportunities. And in today's world, these opportunities now happen where you don't have to be the super entrepreneur to take advantage of it. And even if it's something that you do that just generates, let's say it generates you $1,000 every month, right? And then for the next 20 years, you invest that $1,000 into a S&P fund. 20 years, your retirement is set. You got over $1 million in that account. You can live off the interest. So whether or not you want to leave your job, your current occupation or not, or you need to make an adjustment in your businesses, in the business that you own, we got to be on top of things. And as I've always said, if you have deconstructed from the Bible, even though this is open to anyone, but if you have deconstructed from the Bible, nobody's going to listen to you if you broke and busted. Just saying. If your goal is to help people move out of this situation, and we talked about this in great detail at the meetup that we had in October of this year, that you have to, you can't be broken busted. Nobody's listening to you. That's just not going to happen. It's just the society that we live in, right? So, and one of the reasons why, one of the things that I'm going to talk about, and one of the business concepts that I'm talking about on there is something that is crazy. I was setting this webinar up, and then one of the type of opportunities that I'm talking about landed in my lap. And this is not network marketing. I hate network marketing. And 98% of the people who get involved themselves with network marketing fail. They never make any money. So this is not a network marketing thing. You will never hear me promote one of those. So definitely would love to see you guys there, especially if you were part of the seminar that I did with the Financially on Fire seminar. If you did the Financially on Fire seminar, this is a great second to that, because some of the things that we talked about in there, once you get your credit right, you understand how credit works, you've gotten on your budget, you're living on the 70-10-10-10 plan. You understand how finances work in the world, from a macro to the micro. This is the follow-up. This is definitely the follow-up. So I would love to see you guys join me there on December 14th. And I specifically waited to this time frame of the year to do it, because if you are looking saying that, oh, Christmas coming up and New Year's coming up and $28, I can't afford that. It ain't for you. It's not for you. It's not for you. When it comes to me in business, all that patience that y'all say I have when I'm talking to people on here, that patience goes away. I have no patience when it comes to doing business. Either shut up or get up. That's it. Nothing else. But many of you guys have talents and abilities that you don't even recognize, or opportunities that you don't even recognize. And I'm going to help you recognize those things. And we're going to get into the details of these things too, and how to start it, how to get started, best process. Some of them can be joined together. So I look forward to that. And of course, you can go and get the merchandise on the link on almost every video that's published on Facebook and YouTube. There's a link. Well, on YouTube, there's a link for the shirts. If you want to support the channel that way. And thank you. And all the members, the subscription holders and members, they got an independent video that they got over the weekend. And there are a lot more of those coming, where only members will be able to see those videos. So I thank you guys for that support as well. All right. So now let's get back to the show. We got, about another hour left, maybe, depending upon how things are going. Okay, I see some of y'all are arguing amongst each other. Let's see. So I put the Eventbrite in the comments. And what you meant. Okay, I don't think that that's referring to me. Sometimes, unless y'all put the @ who you're talking to, I can't tell if you're talking to me or you're talking to someone else. You call me names. No, I wasn't talking to you. That's not about me. My life is purpose. My life would not be determined by some fanatics in the desert 2,000 years ago. I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. Why would I base my life on some people like that? On some people 2,000 years ago who still thought that there was some God that controlled the sun and that the moon created his own light. Where did I see that? If you're going to join us for that cruise, I would implore you to go ahead and put your $100 down. I mean, you have to go to Carnival and set it up. I don't have a booking number, none of that bullshit. We're going to, on the days at sea, we're going to have meetups while we're at sea. But you want to put that $100 down, because according to, I was told, and then I went and looked, them rooms are going pretty quick. The cabins are filling up. People plan their cruises well in advance. Yeah, you want to do that as soon as you possibly can. Put that $100 down, because they will go fast. These cabins are going quickly. I don't need a God to have meaning, morals, or empathy, unlike y'all. And that's the thing that has been proven throughout societies and throughout time. Before there was gods, there was civilization. And in order to have civilization, you have to have morals. There has to be some type of morals that are established in order for civilization to even exist. So without that, you can't have a civilization. To even have a family, you got to have some morals. Two people got to agree on some morals in order to have a relationship. And that is before a God. And a God is not needed. And of course, those morals are subjective. So you don't need a God to be moral. I don't know where that comment came from, but I'm just piggybacking on it. You don't need it. You don't need it. It's not required. And the fact that they developed a system of devils, sin, and hell, take it back to the subject matter, is a demonstration of just the control that people, that the elites decided to utilize to control people. Right? And even in those morals that they create, every morality is based on the society that wrote about this God, or about any God, any of them. Why is slavery in the Bible? Because slavery was part of their moral fabric back then. They thought slavery was a moral thing. Why were women treated as property? Because that's how they thought about women at that time. I would love for someone to take on the endeavor. I'm not going to do it, but to take on the project of writing a modern day God, creating a modern day God. And I guarantee that modern day God will not look like any of the gods from back in the day. Like, even if a Christian wrote it, even if a Christian decided that they're going to write a New Testament, I guarantee that New Testament will not have most of the elements from the past. It may cite some things, copy a few things, but it's not going to be like, it's not going to accept those new things. I guarantee they'll write women's liberation in it, women's equality. I guarantee that they will write racial harmony, tribal, national harmony. I guarantee they'll write those things in there. They will not write that the slave who is now Christian should go back to his master who is also Christian. And yet, because they're Christians, the master should treat him better. You're not going to write that. You're going to have your God say something to the effect that no man should own another man. You're not going to say that women, if they are to receive an inheritance from their fathers, has to then marry within their tribe in order to maintain their inheritance. You're going to give women equal treatment as you give men. The same with children. There's no way around it, because even a Christian today is affected by the moral stances we have today. You ain't going to have children getting married to grown ass people. You're just not. You're not going to do it. And then if a woman writes it, it's going to be real different. It's going see, in the patriarchy, see, all the heroes are men. Well, the overwhelming majority of heroes are men. I guarantee if a woman write it, you're going to have more of a balance of male heroes and women heroes. Guarantee it. Now, there's a danger if you do that. If you do that, you might accidentally create a new religion. Ask L. Ron Hubbard. That's what he was just writing a sci-fi novel, but ended up creating a whole new religion called Scientology. But that's the thing that you have the ability to do today. You can create your own narratives. Easily create your own narrative. And we see that happening all the time. We see the mystic forms of Christianity happening. We see people taking bits and pieces. I don't know if you guys saw the video I did about the Unity Church, but the Unity Church pretty much just take bits and pieces from Buddhism, Taoism, some Hermetics, some Christianity, and they mix it all together in one ball and created the Unity Church. Doesn't promote any one deity, but does have a deity, a higher power, but it only focuses in on the things that we today consider to be moral. So and the Unity Church is growing. It is growing. And my question that I had on there was, can the Unity Church be helpful in your deconstructing? Which nobody really answered. Everybody just talked about other stuff on those videos. But no one really said yes or no. I don't know. If you saw that, or maybe you didn't, but you just know about the Unity Church, do you think that the Unity Church can be helpful in a person's process of deconstructing? I know it's religious hopping, but can it be a benefit? Can it help them detach from the emotional connections that they have to this devil and sin and hell? You know, it was a part of my deconstructing. Then that doesn't mean that everybody should, or that's the right answer, just because I did it. But I found it intriguing. I found it interesting. And it did help me release some of those latent emotional connections. You pay for your life. We have been taught to love hell. I would agree with you on that one, Out of Babylon. As far as people have been taught to love hell, because they have. Christians love to throw hell up there. They love to say that you're going to hell, that I'm just trying to save you, from eternal damnation. What in the world? Okay, I don't like this up here. This is getting, I can't see that. I don't want to see that one. You atheists always say you need a sky daddy to behave, right? But yet you have police, judges, lawyers, and prisons to make people behave. Hypocrites. That is not hypocritical at all. That doesn't even make sense. Whether society has a God or not, you still have the general morality of that society. And within that general morality, you have to have a way to punish people or separate people from the society if they are doing harm to the society by like murdering. This is like saying that in order for a atheist to not be a hypocrite, that people should be allowed to go around murdering people and no one does anything about it. That's dumb. You expect humans to not human? Humans are always going to human. They're always going to go out there and do the opposite of whatever the general morality is. So to have safeguards in place, no. And I don't think that people actually need a God to behave, because people exist in societies. They exist in a agreed upon morality of that society. A perfect example, a good example of this is that the laws in America are different than the laws in England. Both are dominated by Christianity, but yet they have different laws. If the morality was dominated by Christianity, then the laws would be the same. So that makes no sense to me. Just like you can go to Dubai, which is under Islam, and you can go to Saudi Arabia, which is also under Islam, but those are two very different countries. What you can do in Dubai, a lot of the shit you can do in Dubai, you cannot do in Saudi Arabia. Like you can go to Dubai and you can still live a Western lifestyle. You not going to Saudi Arabia and living a Western lifestyle, even though they are becoming a little bit more liberal. Women can now drive. They can drive now in Saudi Arabia. But when I was in Saudi Arabia in the 90s, women could not drive. So the law is different. They're both under Islam, but their behavior, what they see as lawful and unlawful, are different. There are some differences. Now I put the request on Facebook and YouTube, but y'all, them Christians on Facebook and YouTube, they scared to come up here. And by the way, you can't complain about the people who call in if you're scared to call in yourself. I did see some of those comments. I don't know who said them because I wasn't paying that much attention. Okay, Miss Big Ups. Miss Big Ups said that the Unity Church would have been counterproductive to her deconstructing from religion. Right. And that's why I was asking that question, because I can understand how to some people, if you were to go to the Unity Church, you can easily get stuck in the Unity Church because it's kind of like, what is that damn smiling ass preacher who always talking about giving just motivational stuff? The one who wouldn't let people in the church during the flood when they were flooding in Houston, I think. I just called him smiling preacher. The Unity Church can make you feel good. It can make you feel comfortable. It can allow you to still have your coping mechanism of a God and a heaven and all the other religious. Joel Osteen, thank you. Yes. But Unity Church is pretty much Joel Osteen's. It's not his church, but that's what they do. Everything is sunshine and rainbows, flowers and unicorns. Let's go walk through the labyrinth, and we're gonna go, and we got our rakes and our Zen gardens, and at least the ones in Atlanta that I went to got their little Zen gardens, and we have their meditation rooms, and work on your chakras, and everything is sunshines and rainbows. The God of the universe just loves. And we're going to sing this song about God, the love God. I went there, but if you don't have an analytical mind or you don't think critically, you can get stuck in the Unity Church as well. And then you're, in there doing the same thing. It's just you don't have a devil. At least the one Unity North, there was no devil, there was no hell, because the good loving God could never create a hell. You just cease to exist. That is separation from God. The separation from God is you cease to exist. And of course, a part of me was still like, but you ain't got no proof. None of this shit that you're talking about. Somebody said, oh yeah. Now I ain't gonna lie. I did. Part of the reason why I went to the Unity Church, because I didn't really go during their services. They would have certain classes on things that I was interested in, like chakras and crystals and stuff at that time frame. And so I went to some of those, but it's the access to their Zen gardens, their labyrinth, their meditation rooms. Like, really, I was just there to use them for my purposes. All right, we're gonna bring Carlos Diaz up. What up?
Can you hear me?
No.
Can't hear me?
I can hear you. It's mechanical.
Is it bad? Can you? Is it manageable?
It's manageable.
All right.
Okay, if you're talking, I can't hear nothing that you're saying. Maybe try when you're in a different area. I still got about 40 minutes. Try when you're in a different area, Carlos, because and you know you're not supposed to be driving. So boss lady, you so funny. This is an interesting comment to me, but I will believe in God until someone can prove that he doesn't exist, and this can easily be done. Are you saying that? Are you referring to someone else, or that's your personal statement? Because why would you believe in something that cannot be proven? What's the purpose of your belief? Is it a coping mechanism? Is it part of your indoctrination, and because it's deep within you, you just can't let it go, and you've applied your personal experiences to some type of God thing? I don't understand why a person would believe in something that they can't prove and that has zero proof, and especially a Bible that actually invalidates is invalidated throughout history. It doesn't make any sense to me. If aliens came down, you'll burn your Bible. So aliens is the key factor. Okay. Not the fact that all the historical things about the Bible are false, except for places. Carlos.
Is it better now? Yeah.
Right.
Is it better?
Right now it is, yes. Yeah.
Okay. I'm on my wife's hotspot.
Okay. So what do you have about the subject, sir?
Yeah, I was wanting to pick up. So, I was wanting to kind of pick up where we left off. It was close. I think the topic was roughly the same. The existence of sin, God. We kind of left off at saying, so I don't know if you remember our last talk, but it was about where the Israelites were commanded by God to go in, take over whatever tribe that was, and take the women, right? And the debate was this morally right for God to have given that command?
Okay.
And so I looked into the verses a bit, and what I learned there was that there was a little more to it than just they could just sleep with them or rape them, as you know, in the way you were putting it. The command was that if they wanted to take the women, they had to marry them, right? They had to marry them first.
Okay.
And so, being that it is God that put the order, I mean, I don't see how being, if God is real, right? Considering if he's real and he is the one that put the command, I don't understand how that would not be justified, being that it's his creation.
Okay, so hold on for a second.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that if in this situation, the situation that is presented, You go in and you conquer some people. You see a woman that you want to marry.
Yeah.
At any point, do you have to ask that woman for her permission?
In this situation, you're referring to specifically the Israelite situation, right? Did
Yeah,
they
I mean,
have to ask them?
right. This is the command that this God is giving, that if you see a woman from your POW,
No, that was not in the command. No, that was not part of the command. They could take them, I guess in a literal sense, against their will, and make them their wife. Yeah.
Okay, you was breaking up a little bit there, but even if you look at the other parts where they conquered the Ammonites and they said, take the little girls who have not known a man and make them your wives, it doesn't give any descriptions as to the process when they conquer the Ammonites. It just said, take the virgin girls. In the other description is saying you see a POW woman, you want to make her your wife. It gives you, that's the only place that it gives a description as to the process that you go through, as far as her shaving her head, going through mourning. She mourns for a certain amount of time. She shaves her head, and then you have sex with her. At no point is a woman giving the option.
Yeah.
So is it moral that
Right.
a woman is forced to
and
marry
that was
a
kind
man?
of bring, yeah, and that was going to bring me to a new point that's actually still a common practice today in many countries. Many countries today, women are forced into marriages, you know, be it by religion, culture, whatever the case might be. But it's a very similar situation.
Okay.
Bottom line is that many women today are forced to marry, and I guess
Does
the
that
claim that
make
you're
it right?
making, me personally, I do not believe it. But I have something to ground that moral claim. I'm just wondering, where do you ground the moral claim? Because the moral thing that I would have, that God has done away with these systems, that now we should be married by choice. Right? That's how I understand it. What is it that you ground? How do you ground that immoral? Where do you ground that to?
The fact that a person should have the autonomy to decide whom they're going to have sex with. I don't know if he froze. Yeah, your signal's horrible, Carlos. I don't even know if you can still hear me, but you're frozen right now. But the moral ground is the fact that everyone should have autonomy over whether or not they should have sex with someone or not, whether or not they should have to marry someone or not. Because people still practice it today, doesn't make it better, or it doesn't make it better. But the fact that we're saying that these women at that time frame, and commanded by this God, does not have any autonomy, any agency to choose who they have sex with and choose their husbands, that's wrong. Because you wouldn't allow it
Can you
today.
hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. I'll just make sure that.
No, but that's wrong. And then the excuse, and I call it an excuse, that if God created us, then he has the moral authority to do whatever he chooses, is tantamount to saying that the slave master can do whatever he wants to the slave. And we certainly wouldn't agree with that today. At least you and I wouldn't, and the overwhelming majority of civilization.
Yeah. Again, I don't think we're in disagreement as to it being wrong or right. I think what we're grounding that on is where we differ. Because would I be right? From a secular perspective, right? There is no God, there is no lawgiver, right? We are making our own laws as we go along as a human race. If I go to that country now and I tell those people, hey, you guys need to cut this out. This whole making the women, would I be right? Like, what do I ground? What ground do I stand on in telling them this?
You stand on your. I stand
Uh-huh.
on my moral. I stand on my moral ground of being a decent human being. I don't need a God to stand on a moral ground. I just simply need to be able to look at myself and say, what would I want for myself? What would I want for my daughters? What would I want for my son? Does everybody deserve agency to choose their lives? To say that my moral ground has to be based on some God is me giving up my mind and giving up my agency to be a slave, to be enslaved by some character who you don't even know exists.
I mean, here's the thing though, because I see your logic behind it, but at the end of the day, I am giving it to him willingly. In fact, I am giving it to him in good faith that he knows best what to do in regards to, you know, making decisions and everything. So he hasn't taken my ability to not choose and be enslaved, right? He's actually left it up to me to decide, hey, do you want to listen to me? You can. You don't have to, but I would recommend it. And so he has left me the ability to choose. I could say any day I want, hey, I don't want to listen to you, God, anymore. I don't want to walk in your ways anymore and listen to your advice. I want to go do my own thing. I think that's freedom.
But when the women don't have a choice, where is their freedom?
Now, I would agree with you that is, I don't agree that should go on. Right? I don't agree that should happen. Right? Now,
Okay. So wait a minute. Hold on.
I cannot,
Wait. So you don't agree that should go on, but yet you're willing to give up your moral stance that shouldn't go on to say that, well, but God said it, so I guess I'll allow for my own morality to be shut down, even though it's greater than the morality of this God, because he may know something I don't know.
Wait, I don't quite follow. Are you saying that God, it is God who has this standard of today's? Are you attributing today's forced marriages to God? Are you saying that that's his will imposed on the world?
I mean, that's what you're saying. You're saying that you will give up your higher moral stance that forced marriage is not moral to this God stance that forced marriage is moral. So you are giving up your.
I don't believe that.
You don't believe what?
I don't believe that God today. I don't believe that God today, the God of the Bible today, stands for promote these forced marriages. I think that was a thing specifically for a specific time in when it happened.
So
I don't believe we are in times anymore.
So you think that there was a time frame where women should lose their agency?
Yes, and more specifically, events where it needed to be done.
Why? Why would that need to be done?
His will.
Why would these women?
Well, God was using Israel.
He was using what?
Well, God was using Israel to bring attention on different tribes and different nations. Who, by the way, they themselves, many of these tribes themselves, were, had child sacrificing going on, and they themselves were savage.
There's no proof.
They were just rogue.
There's absolutely. I'm gonna overtalk you on that one. That there is absolutely zero proof that these people were doing that. That is all written in the Bible, and the Bible is the only thing that claims that. We have never found any other writings from those tribes that say that they were doing child sacrifice. That is slander.
There is absolutely no proof of child sacrificing. Is that what you're saying?
There's no proof that these other tribes were conducting child sacrifice.
None of the tribes were.
There's no proof that they were doing child sacrifice as a society. Now, were there people, individual people who did child sacrifice? Sure. But as a society, there is no proof of this ritualistic child sacrifice, because if we're going to go that route, there's proof that the Israelites were doing that. Independent groups of Israelites did child sacrifice.
I
But
agree.
but
I
the
agree.
society but the Israelite society as a whole did not agree with child sacrifice. So what
Okay,
you want to,
I'll grant you that. I'll grant you that.
don't slander the other groups as if they're doing it on wholesale, because they weren't.
Well, this is what I will say, right? Whatever, because I have seen proof where there was some of these other tribes that God set Israel against were into these types of practices. Whatever, I'll just grant that the proof is not, good enough or whatever. God decided judgment needed to be brought onto these tribes for whatever reason. I don't get to say. I don't really get to judge that. I'm nobody to judge. I'm nobody
yes,
to
you are.
His judgment.
Yes, you are. You are. You're judging by saying that there was a time
Perhaps
frame.
I can have my opinion.
Hold on. You are saying that there was a time frame that it was okay for women to be forced into sexual relationship with an Israelite man because God was using them as an example. If God was truly trying to use them as an example, then why wouldn't he use them as a greater example to the morality that you would have today, and say that these Israelite women were just welcomed into the community, that these non-Israelites were welcomed into the community. And if they abided by the laws and rules of this God, then they would get the same type of respect that anybody else would have in this society.
Well,
but
we do see that. You see, that's the thing.
You're breaking up. You're frozen. Carlos, I'm gonna need you to call me when you're like at home. Because
can you hear me?
No, this conversation, I would love to have this conversation with you, but I'm trying to get through the sketchiness to understand what you're saying. So I'm gonna go ahead and take you off this thing because I can barely. I'm on a struggle bus trying to understand you. But that's the confirmation bias. There is absolutely no justification at any time by any God or anybody else that a woman should be able to be forced into marrying anyone. And how you're going to give up your morality to say that, well, for that time frame. That is a coping mechanism. That's all that is. I don't know if he can still hear me. But that is a coping mechanism that allows for you to justify your belief in this God, but be able to maintain your moral stance for today. Because you're saying, well, today God wouldn't do that. But at one time he did. But God is supposed to never change. He's always the same. So the laws that he had back then should not have changed in today, because Jesus, according to your belief, Jesus said that not one tittle of the law shall change until heaven and earth have passed away. Heaven and earth didn't pass away. And yes, to fulfill something is not to abolish it. Yeah. And you know what amazes me? And I'm not saying that this is true. I don't know if it's true. But since he's using his wife's Wi-Fi, that would mean you're sitting in a car with a woman, and this woman agrees that those women deserve to have their pum pum taken, to be forced into sexual relationship with these other group of people simply because the God that you believe in dictated it. Like, that's why I don't understand how women are still following this religion. And I know this is something more that I would more or less talk about on my relationship channel. Stop following along with what your spouse says just because they're your spouse. It's a interesting thing, interesting phenomenon that happens with people. But when you engage into a relationship with someone, things that you would have opposed if you didn't have that emotional connection, all of a sudden you don't oppose it because it's your spouse. If my wife busts through this door and she said that, hey, because God deemed it that these women should lose their autonomy, I'm going to look at her sideways and I'm going to question whether or not you are moral enough to be my wife at that moment. Because that won't make no sense to me. I'm not going to conform just to keep the peace within our relationship. And I understand that people are influenced by their spouses, but you cannot influence me to be opposite of what I know my morality is. One of the things that used to irk me in my younger days when I was married, I used to always be like, don't agree with me for the sake of our relationship. If you disagree with something that I say, something that I think, a morality that I hold, don't agree with me or just sweep it under the rug. State your case. Maybe your case is better than mine. Maybe I'm the one that needs to be influenced. But certainly don't just agree. I wouldn't want a woman to be a yes woman with me. But I find, and ladies, do not get mad at me, but you might. I find that women, when it comes to the Bible, women do that all the freaking time. We both Christians, so we equally yoked. So then you put up with all the bullshit in the Bible that goes against women. Yet you will run around talking about how women need to be treated equally with men, that women shouldn't be treated unfairly, that women should have the agency of their body. Yet you will be with a man who is preaching this Bible that says that women don't have that agency. It's basically saying women don't. You ladies do not have agency of your body in the Bible. But when it comes to that damn Bible, these women will give up all their agency, all their morality just to be with this damn man. Now let that man start talking about he want to enforce some of the other bullshit in the Bible as far as a woman is concerned, right? Let's say that if this man thinks that you had sex with another man and the baby you carrying is another man's baby, and he want to mix up some magic ass potion to see if you have a miscarriage or not, to prove your loyalty, I want to see how strongly you stand by that man at that point. How strongly you gonna stand at that point? When you write that will as a man, show your wife that will that you wrote, and everything that y'all have built together doesn't go to you if he dies before you. It goes to your son. Doesn't go to your daughters. It goes to your son. Now, if you have daughters, then yeah, it goes to your daughters, but then the daughters have to marry somebody within that. If they don't marry another Christian, then they lose all that inheritance. Write that will, and let's see how much you still support that man. You see, you give up that agency on some of these things that you know don't affect you. And that's the problem. It doesn't affect you right now. So you give up that agency. You live in America, where women choose who they want to marry. You live in America where a woman can make just as much money as a man. You live in America where women can own property, right? You would live in America where a woman can challenge that will and go through the probate court system and get all the shit herself. So you live in here, so you feel comfortable following what this foolishness that a man is saying about a woman giving up her agency. Because you live here, you don't really realize the psychosis that you're under. But you know good and goddamn well, if you and your man travel back in time and you was back at that time frame where all those rights and the privileges that a woman has are taken away, oh yeah, I bet your ass be singing a different tune. You'd be singing a different tune then. I don't understand how women follow this Bible. Women should be running out of the church, should be running from this religion more so than men. So no disrespect to my man who was on here, Carlos. No disrespect to your wife, but I don't see how your wife sits in the car next to you and listen to you say that there was a time frame where it was good that this God allowed for these women to be essayed, for their agency to be taken away. How does she sit there? And the only rational thought I can think of is because she wants to be in that relationship. She's giving into it and she knows it doesn't affect her right now. But you're with a man who's basically saying that if God reinstituted women not having the right to choose who they marry, who they have sex with, and if you got daughters, you're going to agree with that? Would you agree with that? That's the part. Wendy Wu says she studied her way out of the Bible. Same for me. It was my studying of the Bible that got me out of it. And yes, Paul was deeply intimidated by women, even though they like to say, well, Paul put Priscilla and Aquila. Paul didn't like women. He didn't like women at all. Ooh, the microphone. Wendy.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great. I'm sure. Are you over 21? Just got to check.
Yes, way over.
I never talked to you before, so I got to check for the TikTok purpose.
I know, you just came across my For You page and I was taking a little break and I accidentally hit the request, but you know, that's okay. No, there are no accidents, I guess.
That's right. You're here now.
Yeah, I'm here now. But I think we speak the same language. Yeah, I think Paul had it in for the women.
Oh,
yeah. And unfortunately, the Pauline doctrine overshadows, much of what Jesus was taught. If we really look at the bread and butter of that and this and the root of it, he actually had if he did exist the way that he did, Mary Magdalene was his counterpart.
Right, and he didn't care for her at all. He didn't care for women, period. I mean, they'll throw up the Priscilla and Aquila, but just because you have two tokens up there doesn't necessarily mean that you are a supporter of women. He wanted women to stay covered. He wanted them to stay submissive. He didn't want them speaking in the churches. He gave the man authority over the woman. He said that it was Eve's fault, basically, that we are in our situation because she was the one that transgressed and not Adam. I mean, he really just did not like women. But I got a question for you.
Sure.
You said that you studied your way out of the Bible.
Yes. Out of the church. I sure did.
Out of the church. Was there one thing or what was the major thing? I'm pretty sure there was a combination, but what was the major insight that made you say, okay, enough of this?
Well, I had a spiritual awakening, meaning had like an audible voice come through and tell me to leave because they weren't speaking the truth. So basically, it was come out of there. They aren't speaking the truth. They pointed out things about, the women. And I started to look at the differences between Paul and Jesus and other scripture that really contradicted itself. And one being, Hosea actually said, in Hosea, it was, I desire grace, not sacrifice. And one man cannot atone for another man sin. Like there's no way that can happen. There was a lot of things and it was just an unfolding. So my intuitive abilities started to just really amplify and I wanted to explore that. And I started stepping deeper into higher states of consciousness and realized that I'm a multi-dimensional being. I'm just having, I'm a spirit that's inside of a body and I'm having a human experience. And it is through the duality of this earthly plane that I remember that I am part of source. I was never separate from source. And I was not born into sin. No one is. They might be told that they are, but
Right.
even if you go into scripture, they're very Bible. They can see that Jesus said that he never said that we were born into sin and that we were dirty and didn't deserve anything and we were worthless. That's all Paul.
Right. That is all Paul. Like I like the example of when he they asked him whose sin caused this boy to be blind, and he was saying no one's sin. That there wasn't sin that caused the boy to be blind. He's just born that way. So
Right.
you are, how would you categorize yourself now? Do you believe in the Bible or not?
I think that there could be some caveats of truth in there, but there's a great deal of distortion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly how everything came together. I know that the politicians of that time, the Council of Nicaea, sat around and voted what went in, and it was canonized by politicians. So that's, if we look at that today, that would be equivalent to saying, hey, our Congress and our House of Representatives are going to vote on what sacred scripture goes into this body of work, and then we will call it the Word of God. But actually, that's not in its totality either, because I would like to know what words aren't of God, if you were to say that, because it's just an expression. We are talking about words and manifestations that are expressed.
Okay. So to give you a little bit of information on it. So the Council of Nicaea didn't actually canonize the Bible. It actually came about 29 years later. But out of the Council of Nicaea, Athanasius began to submit what he thought should be the canon. And then in another council about 29 years later, that's when they finally start canonizing the Bible. And that was under the orthodoxy of Rome. So, of course, other writings were determined not to be part of the Bible because they didn't have what they call the apostolic succession or the agreement based on some of the earlier church writers who were under the orthodoxy, like Irenaeus and Origen and Polycarp and all those people. So we don't get a canon until like 369, 379, somewhere around in there.
Okay.
But the Council of Nicaea determined that Jesus and God were the same. And they then organized Christianity under Roman rule. So you're still right along the lines of these were politicians, even though they did it later, these were still politicians who put the Bible together based on a common goal of controlling this religion.
Exactly.
And they left out anything that didn't fit this small narrative that they had, which would have caused more confusion if they would have added those other books in.
Right. Hence the distortion.
Right.
And they were able to control people through that. If if many of the people did not agree with said interpretation, then they received the wrath of them not agreeing and deemed a heretic. Oh, how dare you have an opinion or a critical thought?
Exactly. I mean, you had so they leaned on people like Irenaeus, who wrote the heresies, and he was writing against Marcions and the Valentinans and the agnostics. And so because they were following Polycarp and Irenaeus, they was like, oh, all these other versions we have to throw away. So none of the Nag Hammadi libraries would have made it in there because they didn't follow this already decided line of thought. So we lose all of that, which, of course, writings like the Gospel of Thomas are in direct conflict with what the Gospels say.
Yes.
Because you don't need a church, you don't need a pastor, you don't need a priest. And it is very much, it's not totally Gnostic, but it falls in the line. It's more similar to Gnosticism than the Orthodoxy, in that this is the meat suit of poverty, and that you have to understand what you really are to escape this meat suit to go back to source.
Exactly. So you brought up Gnosticism. So that would be, I guess, if I was to have to choose, that would be my choice. But I'm open. I also know that the more I learn, the more knowledge I gain, the more I don't know.
Mhm.
But I do know for sure that I should not have to acquiesce or give my soul over to Jesus when he did not ask for it.
No, you're right. There's no point in there where Jesus said that the way to elevate yourself is really through me. I mean, people take the fact that he say, I'm the way, the truth, and the light, as to mean that only through him can you achieve this mindset. But
yeah,
I'm
sorry,
people,
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, he wanted people to follow the law. He wanted people to follow the law in a more mystic kind of format as well as a literal format. But it wasn't about believing in him. If you just read what he says.
Exactly. When we look at the term I am, that's an affirmation of us. It's like, I exist. This is how I exist. I exist as the way. So if I'm going to find my way, I have to come through myself and align myself to source in order to receive the information or the data or the downloads. Only I can do that when I have my intentions right or correct.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I hear. But, that whole statement. Well, he says, I am the way, I'm the truth, I'm the life. But I am as I am too. I exist. And so if you were to also look at what he says that we were gods as well.
Yeah, which actually is him misquoting. Yeah, that is a misquoting of Psalms. When you go and read that whole thing of Psalms, where it says that is it not written that ye are gods, it is not talking about other humans. It is talking about the other B'nai Elohim. It has really nothing to do with us as humans.
Gotcha. So do you think that you are an individuated aspect of God?
No.
Like just an extension of God?
No, I don't think that any God exists.
Well, God meaning I'm when I say God, I just mean like source, not like some entity.
Well, an entity without intention, then that would be nature. So do I think I am a part of nature? An extension of nature? Yes.
Okay. I get it.
Yeah, because see, if we're just saying source without an intention or a mentality, then that's just nature. Once you add intentionality to it, now it becomes a deity. And that is the part that there's just no evidence of it, because nature just consistently functions on the planes that we do understand, and on the planes that we don't understand, it still just happens.
Okay. So let me pique your interest with this. So with the source that is in nature, is there an intelligence with that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it has intentions, then it has an intelligence. I don't see an intelligence at work. There's too much chaos in the universe for there to be an intelligent design to all of this. Like the Earth has been through at least 5 or 6 extinction level events. 98% of the species that's ever lived on this planet are all gone.
Right. So it's almost like there's a reset button. So there's no intelligence behind that.
No, it's just a natural thing. Think about it. Like a few years ago when those 6 or 7 asteroids hit, these Earth-sized asteroids were hitting Jupiter. That wasn't a reset, because there's no life that we know of on Jupiter. So that's not a reset. It's just, the chaotic nature.
That's interesting. I look at it like this, if I can share, because that's kind of interesting. What if, and this is just what if, okay, just for shits and giggles, right? So what if we in our frequency, because if we are on the same level of vibration and frequency and energy, and we see Jupiter, okay, we see Jupiter as it is, we know from our point of view there is no life there. However, if you were to look at a fan, let's just take the analogy of a fan, and it's going on the speed that's very low.
Right.
And you can see the blades going. And then if it was to speed up extremely fast to where we are not able to see the blades almost until where it was going so fast that it looks invisible. What if that is the frequency to where it went invisible, the vibration, the frequency, where we can't really see it with our physical eyes, but it's still there? And so like that could be something Jupiter is, where if there's anything on there, if there's any life on there, that its frequency and vibration is so high that we are not able to perceive it with our naked eyes.
I understand what you're saying.
You see?
I understand what you're saying. And I've heard that analogy used for multiple things, but I understand what you're saying. Then if we put that beyond the fan, if we looked at that in a frequency format, because the fan is just moving real fast, so it's like it creates this optical illusion within our eyesight. But for there to be the existence of life that's at a different frequency, then that frequency wouldn't be affected by anything of the lower frequency. So the asteroids hitting Jupiter, if life was existing there at such a high frequency, it wouldn't be affected. So it still wouldn't be a reset, because of it would be in a different dimensional plane, but yet connected to Jupiter. So even with the destruction of Jupiter, if Jupiter was destroyed, that existence would still carry on. You understand what I'm saying?
I'm trying to. I'm trying to. I mean, so we were able to see that asteroid from our level of perception, okay, and then if it's happening and there's some destructive nature of it there, and there's the physical evidence of it, and then there's no physical evidence of any like dead alien bodies around, then you're basically saying we would see dead bodies, dead aliens around from the asteroids hitting it. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that we wouldn't, because the frequency that the asteroids hit Jupiter and the frequency that Jupiter is on, those entities wouldn't be tied to the ongoings of Jupiter, because they would still continue regardless of Jupiter, because they're existing on a whole nother level.
Gotcha.
So it's just like there could be, let's say there was a being that was standing right next to me. I can't see it because of the frequency that it's living in. Then it's not affected by a rock that flows through this room. It'll just pass right through it, because the rock, it's at such a high vibration that the rock will just pass through it. It would be able to walk through the wall, move however it chooses to move, however system of movement that it utilizes, because it just wouldn't be on a frequency where it can exist in the same realm that I'm existing in.
Okay.
So then it's not affected by the things that do affect things within the frequency range that affects me.
Okay.
And that's the thing. I guess that's the main part. It got to be, for it to be affected by something, it has to still be within the same frequency range of everything else within there. So it could be higher vibrations and lower vibrations, but they're still within a range. Once you go outside that range, it is no longer affected by anything inside that range.
Gotcha.
So there could, I think that there are other life forms in the universe that are on the same range as we are in, but I think that there are life forms outside of the range that we exist in.
Yeah.
But that's just a thought. I cannot prove it. The only reason I think that is because there is no end to frequencies. Right? They go as high as they go, is as low as they go. The pole is eternal in both directions. So there's a point where the frequency is beyond any perception or range that we can affect it or even recognize it. Now, does that mean so? But that also means that frequency at such a high level, it's outside of the range of being able to affect us as well. So, and that would just be life in this expansive of nature, and it still would just be nature. So, the idea of an intelligence that is within our range of affecting us, there's just no demonstration of that. And if there's no demonstration of an all-encompassing intelligence that is within the range that it could affect us. So there is no God, because then that would just be an alien.
I see. Yeah, I just sense there's like a force. There's some type of force. There's a push and a pull. There's an electromagnetic field. There's a magnetic field. There's a lot of things that work together. As far as it being a judgmental God or something like that, I think we judge that. And it's in the judgment that we have and learning to work through judgment with and get into an acceptance of how things are, that we actually transmute some of those lower level things that we just have to deal with on a daily basis. Now, the whole alien thing, I think it's probably a probability that there are, but I don't think that they want to mess with us. I mean, we're just at a lower level probably, and it was sort of like if we're in the bad part of town, they're driving by like, okay, why would we even go there? they want to bow down and give over their power to some entity,
Right. Yeah, I don't think that they would bother us. And plus, we're like in the sticks of our galaxy.
Yeah, the sticks.
We're too far away. We out in the boonies. We are the latter existence of life. Those existences of life are probably closer to the galactic center. So they've been around longer, have been able to grow or kill themselves off. I mean, I would think that majority of them have killed themselves off, or the chaotic nature of the universe has killed them off, or the galaxy. I mean, we're constantly being bombarded on this planet, which is why we see shooting stars all the time. But one day we're going to pass through the Pleiades, and the right size rock is going to knock the shit out of this planet. And it's just a thing of time.
Yeah.
We can't keep going through the Pleiades and not one day a big ass chunk of it, the size of Texas, destroys everything on this planet. It's a matter of time.
I guess if nature has some type of intelligence, then like it did before, it will rebuild again.
And that's the whole thing. Nature always continues to recycle and recreate, but it's not intentional. There could have been a society of conscious beings on this planet 500,000 years ago, 1,000,000 years ago, that were lizard based, and then they all died out because of ice ages and whatnot. And they would have had a whole system of beliefs and a whole system, just like we have all our systems and everything. They would have had all of that, but time would have eroded all evidence of them.
Yeah. So what about the whole thought of it, source, just creating in nature, just so it dumbs itself down so far into ignorance, just so that it experiences itself.
Then it wouldn't.
And that's what we are.
It wouldn't be source. You can't be the all and be missing something. Like, you would have to be God. You would know all things, so you would already know every experience, or every condition. All things have to be within the knowledge and experience of the all. if it needs to go and submit itself to our level, then it's can't be the all because it's lacking. It's lacking something, and the all can never be lacking anything.
Why not?
Because then it wouldn't be the all.
Well, sure it would, because it would be all.
No, but if it's all,
anything. It would be all duality too.
but then it wouldn't. If it's all, if it is all, then there's nothing outside of it. It would already know the experience. It would already know everything.
Sure, but I guess yes and no. I guess I'm sort of seeing it differently, because if the all was all encompassing and it knew everything, it would also not know. It would also have to not know.
No, how can that be?
To not know, it has to sort of like forget.
Then it wouldn't. Then it wouldn't be the all. Then
Sure.
it's like the old saying goes. All means all, and that's all means. It can't.
What about as above, so below? You know, we're going to get pulled into Hermeticism here, which I really like.
I do too. And if as above, so below is just saying whatever is on the above is on the below, and the things that affect the above can affect the below, and the below can affect the above. But within that law of correspondence, it is the fact that everything exists on this long ass pole of totality. But of course, in Hermetics, there is the law of mentalism, which speaks on the all and how the all must always be the all. The moment
must always be the all.
It can never take anything away. It can never be added to. And if it doesn't know the human experience and is going through this journey, that means you're adding to it. But it can never be added to, because otherwise it wouldn't have not been the all.
Hold on a minute. Someone's at my door. What? Someone, it's me. I know. What do you need? Rude. I'm on the phone.
I'm going to get the boys, and I'm going to Cantina Louie.
Oh, well, have fun.
She's not being rude.
It's my daughter. How dare she knock on my door?
These children.
I know. She's a dog. So, I had a thought though. So right before she knocked on the door. So the all, let's just talk about the all for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the all, and it's all encompassing and everything. So there's something about observation, and with that, is it there until it's observed?
You mean the all?
Yeah. So that's where we come in. Until it's observed.
So we're going.
Maybe that is not forgotten, but it's there until it's observed.
So we're going into particle science here now.
What?
Particle science. That particles don't demonstrate a consciousness until they are observed, and then once they are observed, then they do things differently than how they normally would when they're not observed.
Like quantum entanglement.
Yeah, quantum entanglement. Thank you. That's actually better way of saying it. So
that's what I help people with, is with quantum entanglement. I talk to people about quantum entanglement.
But if the all could be, but we cannot observe the all.
Really?
How could we observe the all if the all is beyond physical form and it's just mental?
Well, you are a thought form. You're first. I think everything starts at the level of thought or an energy that is a consciousness, and then it takes on form.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're just talking hypothetically.
Okay.
You know, there's no right or wrong here. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to like, and we are Mercury in retrograde, so I don't want to be in like any like misunderstanding or miscommunication here.
Okay.
We're calling each other names and getting off and getting kicked off the live. So we're just like having fun with just thinking outside the box here, which I wish more people would do.
How about this then? How about this? In order, okay, so quantum entanglement, once something is observed, then it acts differently, right? Then it has different perceptions, it does things differently. But in order to, and with the Hermeticism, and I don't know if I'm saying this right, so the all, we are all the mental imagery of the all. Everything is happening within the mind of the all. But in order for the changes, which change is a constant, to happen within the mental picture imagery of the all, then the all will have to be observed outside of itself by a greater all than itself. And then another greater all of that will be observing that all.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say that that even and with our little let's just say our brain is a receptor. It's like the antenna, it's the receptor. And so if we are sitting in with our brain, which I always thought that also our mind is different from the brain. Like the brain is an interfacer. And then we perceive it. We perceive what we see. And that's why so many people, like if they had experienced maybe the same kind of trauma, one could walk away from that trauma.
I think your phone rang.
Trauma a little bit different than the other person,
Right.
Because of how it was perceived.
Right.
And so we're talking about thought form here. So the all is there. And you said, well, how do we experience the all? Well, if we are just this little individuated, puny little person, and we start getting curious, then we are putting out a signal to find the answer in the all until it interfaces with our brain and our mind until we perceive it. And that's probably how a lot of scripture came about, is because of how that person perceived it, and they just wrote it down.
I actually can understand that and get with that one. I don't have nothing to say about that one. I would agree with you that's a interesting thought process that I can agree with for the most part. Now, because some of the things were just written down just to control the shit out of people. But for some of the more, I had a vision or, the philosophical points that people derived that they came to, I can see that being that they had an experience, and from that experience, they created these ideas of scripture, especially with the Jesus character. That express, I can see that. I ain't got shit to say. I'm just babbling. I have nothing on this one. That one, that's a good thought experiment.
Yeah, it's just something to kind of contemplate.
Yeah.
And we can contemplate so many things and not really come to conclusions. I mean, I've contemplated things for years, even with spirituality, and at the end of the day, the more knowledge I seek and gain, the more I realize I just don't know. And it's okay. It's okay to not know for sure. And actually, I think it's a limitation to be extremely certain about things of spirit and of mysticism, because then you're just saying, well, this is it, and the Bible says, and blah, blah, blah. And then just think of all the people that you hurt in between because of that.
Exactly. And I think it's the people who do that, they're just wearing a dunce cap, and they just want to put their blinders on and follow along that pathway, and they don't care who they hurt. As long as they feel comfortable in their coping mechanisms, they're fine. But, young lady, I'm going to need you to call in earlier next time, because I could probably talk to you for an hour or two.
Yeah. So give me a follow. I gotta go. I think I gotta cook my dinner.
Yeah, it's past my 3.5 hour mark, and I'm hungry.
All right. You take care. Thanks for having me on. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, I actually enjoyed that conversation. I really enjoyed that conversation because there's some Hermetic principles and some Taoism that I was ready to get into. Get into some Nietzsche and some Plato. But I happen to see that it's 3:48. And y'all know what happens past 3:30. I get hangry and start getting a little loopy. So I appreciate you guys for being here today. We're going to get ready to close the show out. Remember that we are having our cruise, our meetup for next year is going to be a cruise leaving October 31st out of New Orleans, so a 5-day cruise. look forward to you guys on that one, having a seminar, a webinar on 9 businesses to start, because you know I like business. Follow the Eventbrite link on Facebook and YouTube for that one. And I look forward to our next conversation tomorrow. Remember, the show now is Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time is when we get started, roughly. So I appreciate everybody who follows the channel, who's a member, who's a subscription holder. I will continue to make videos just for you guys. But we will reconvene tomorrow. And please don't hesitate to send me messages about other subject matters you guys would like to talk about. I do consider them sometimes. But of course, if you're a member or a subscription holder or a super fan, you know, you get a little extra thought on whether or not we're going to talk about what you asked for. So I'm hungry. So y'all have a great day. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations. Might have to, there we go.